On behalf of everyone at the World Poker Tour, allow me to welcome you to Manila, to the people of Solera Casino, for the WPTN National Philippines Poker Championship.
Started with 385 entrants, and we're down to the final 6. In seat number 1, with 1,515,000, I'd like to introduce Andrew Chow. Andrew's from the Philippines. In seat number 2, from Malaysia, 1,690,000, Chow. In seat number 3, 1,640,000 from Japan, Sumida. In seat number 4, 805,000 from Japan, Chow. Also from Malaysia, in seat number 5, 425,000, Kevin Ong. And in seat number 6, with 1,645,000 from Sweden, now looking to the Philippines, Douglas Olson. Coming into the United States, the World Poker Tour commentator, a poker ambassador. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Mike Sexton.
Thank you, Matt. First of all, congratulations, players. You have a chance to make poker history today, maybe becoming the first ever poker national WPT Philippines champion. We certainly
Fold. Fold. Raise.
Hello everyone, this is Tony Dunst coming to you alongside Mike Sexton from the Solaire Resort and Casino in Manila in the Philippines. Mike, thank you for joining me in the booth today.
Hey, Tony, it's great to be back here with you. I'm able to pick up a few pointers from you today. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we'll see. You did a lot better in this event than I did. I believe you finished 10th here in Manila.
I did. Actually made this final table, but I was out so quickly that you didn't even hardly know I was there, you know. But it was a fun tournament, though, and I had a shot at it, just fell card dead toward the end. So, unfortunately, I'm not there with these guys fighting out for the title, but this should be fun to watch.
So you definitely got some experience with this collection of players leading up to this final table.
I did have, actually, and my impression of all these guys, honestly, nobody from this final six made a lot of moves when I was playing with them. Basically, they all had a hand and pretty much played solid poker. That's about the way it went throughout the tournament, in fact, for me, for 3 or 4 days. So I just felt everybody here in Manila, for the most part, played pretty solid poker.
Yeah, I encountered very much the same. I only played 1 day and did not play especially well, but when I came over here, I was expecting a lot of chips flying, much as we encountered in the event in Jeju last year, but instead it seemed a much more conservative style here in the Philippines.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to a pretty solid, slow final table, honestly, even though the blinds are very high, 25 and 50,000 with a 5,000 ante, and the chip leader has 1.6 million, so that gives you an idea that, you know, it's not going to be a lot of pre-flop action, post-flop action, betting on the river. Basically, it's going to be get it and go here.
Well, we've seen a raise from Tetsuya Tsuchikawa with an ace-6 here on the cutoff, and right behind him,
Player solid.
Kevin Ng is going to go all in with king-queen suited. Pretty automatic play there on his short stack, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, Kevin short stacked, as you can see.
Came into this final table with about 8 blinds.
Yeah, so when you find a hand like that, you're happy to get it in. I happen to be in the same spot on a short stack with 10 left. I got it in with the king-8 of diamonds. I didn't fare too good. Let's see how Ang does.
Well, and both players behind him actually had hands. They had ace-10 suited and pocket sixes, but as you mentioned, a pretty conservative style here. Not surprised to see either of them fold those hands. Now back to one of our 2 Japanese players.
Well, another 285,000 for him to call here. He just has an ace-6 offsuit. Not what you're looking to get your money in with, but
No. Getting a pretty good price around 2-1, but of course ace-6 not exactly the caliber
he
man
has
he wants
made
to
the
get
call.
in. Well, he will have the best of it here. And so in the first hand, we have an all-in confrontation.
Well, Ang must draw out to stay alive. Let's see if he can do it.
As we know, one of the aces already dead.
Right on top of that.
Ang not quite a 3-2 underdog, so not in bad shape here. But you're always holding your breath when you're all in, whether you have the best hand or the worst. Not a good flop for Ang as it comes 10 deuce deuce.
No, really just gives him a couple of backdoor draws and still the overcards, but he's going to need help if he wants to stay alive.
And he's looking up to the poker guy saying, come on, give me some help here.
Queen on the turn.
Well, that's about as much help as you can get.
Now he is going to be way in front. The 8 on the river. No help to Tsuchikawa, so Kevin Ng going to double up on the first hand. He's going to be around 17, 18 blinds now. And, you know, Mike, it's not a detraction from the structure here that these guys are so short. It's because we had such a long play down day leading up to the final table.
Well, we really did. When we got down to 10 players, I went out pretty quick. But they tell me that the rest of them played about 4 hours, going from 9 down to 6.
That's
and
right.
From 8 to 6, it was about 100 hands, which you don't ever see that many hands normally to get down just to 2 players with the blinds as high as they were.
Yeah, you always see things slow down approaching a final table, but that was a very, very thorough playdown day, and I think it's a reflection of the sort of conservative style we were talking about before. There's not a lot of 3-betting, 4-betting going on here. You know, nobody here has had, you know, really huge success so far in tournament poker. There's some guys who have some scores on their Hendon Mob, but nobody with a score of this size today.
No, this is big time for all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
A chance to make this final table. That's why they played so conservative. And honestly, I don't see their style is going to change today. It would surprise me if we see weak 3 bets out of these guys at this final table. I just don't see it happening.
Yep. Give our listeners an idea of what these guys are playing for. First prize is $156,849 on what was a $2,200 buy-in here in Manila, which generated 385 entries, which was an excellent turnout in my opinion.
Well, pretty good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our tournament director, Matt Savage, I asked him before it started, how many entries do you think we'll have? He said, I think 300 would be good. They end up with 385. So for a first ever event here in the Philippines, and poker is very popular over here.
Definitely.
I was actually impressed with the overall quality of play from the vast majority of players I came up against.
I agree. Well, here, Uchikawa has raised a queen jack on the hijack.
Well, nice flop for him as he flops top pair.
Action on you, sir. Check.
Nagao, not much here with his king 9.
Bet 100,000.
And Moonfei Chow will release his king high there.
Of all the players I played with for a couple days, yeah, this Chow guy is the one that I felt was the most aggressive and did play the weaker hands of most people. And you can see there, called the raise with the king 9. Most of these guys wouldn't do that, but he is the one player that may step it up a little bit this final table, if any of them are going to do it.
As you can see there from our chip stacks, fairly evenly distributed amongst our remaining 6. We have 2 players living here in the Philippines. One of them is Scandinavian, but identifies as a Filipino now. We've got 2 from Malaysia and 2 from Japan. So a very Pacific final table.
Well, it definitely is, but you would certainly expect that.
Fold.
Did have a few big-name international players come out. We saw Lacey Jones, Xuan Liu, and high roller specialist David Steike.
Yeah.
All came down and made an appearance.
J.J. Liu as well.
That's right.
J.J. is the highest finishing woman in a buy-in event on the World Poker Tour, along with Vanessa Selps finishing runner-up at the Bay 101 one time. So no woman has ever won a buy-in event on the World Poker Tour. But J.J. Liu, Vanessa Selps have finished runner-up.
I get a sense that's not a record that will stand too long. I think we'll have a female winner in the next year or 2.
Yep, I would agree with you.
Very, very tough female players on the tour these days. Meanwhile, Chow.
Well, Van Wyn won the WPT title at the WPT Invitational Tournament. That is a free roll, though, of course. There's not a buy-in, but still a prestigious win, even though it's a fast structure and over a 2-day event. But you got to take your hat off to her because she did take down that title.
Yep. And from what I saw there, Chow limped in the small blind and folded to the raise with his ace-6. Facing an ace-10, so avoided a dominated situation. Didn't call the raise out of position with the ace-6.
Now, Tony, I got to say something. We see the guys wearing scarves
Yep.
from Europe, but now here's a guy from Japan wearing the scarf.
That's right.
I
wondered
it
if
just shows you the trend is just going worldwide now, I suppose. We got hoodies here and scarves. Just like we're back in Europe, we're back in the States here. We want to welcome everyone watching right now. Certainly, if you're on the East Coast, you're in the wee hours of the morning.
25.
And after midnight on the West Coast. And if you're in Europe, it's the early morning. So certainly odd hours to be watching poker, but we're glad you're with us.
Fold. Fold.
Kevin Ong going to open the action here with his ace-jack. Going to 125. And he's going to get a collection of folds. Now, Mike, do you have any trouble with the jet lag during this trip?
Actually, I didn't have any trouble with the jet lag because I don't believe in jet lag. I think people that use jet lag. So if you think about what time it was or give you an excuse to be tired, it's just an excuse in my opinion. And my suggestion to everyone listening out there, don't fall for that jet lag nonsense. It's just mental weakness. Whatever time it is, it is.
So you travel. I heard that was your opinion on this. So you travel very well. You adjust really quickly whenever you get somewhere.
Well, I do, but
Yep.
on the other hand, I'm very fortunate that I can sleep on planes. So
Okay.
some people can't, and then I understand where jet lag would play a role. But I'm fortunate that I can sleep, and flying over here, you get those seats that stretch out into beds, and so it's not too
Raise
bad.
100.
Well, Chow opening the action here with the 9-8 suited on the cutoff. Like you said, Mike, he has been our most active player so far. Sumida looks like he's going to make the call out of the small blind with the 6-5 suited. This could get him in some trouble. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Tsujikawa with the king 6 suited, making the call out of the small blind, and he's pretty short stacked here, so he doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver.
It's pretty much of a gambling call there. You can understand a 3-bet there maybe, but a
Yeah.
call and hopes to hit something. He's really hoping for a lot. It's come ace, 9, 5, all hearts. Neither player has a heart. You can see Chow has 2 9s, the best hand right now.
Tsujikawa going to fire at this one,
150.
and he just might get away with this.
That's a bold bet by him. It always raises your curiosity when a guy leads out into a pre-flop raiser when an ace is on the board, because you know the guy's going to make a continuation bet. So you just can't put him on that much of a hand.
And
It's
he's
going to work here. Chow laying down the best hand, so maybe I better take back what I said about these guys being conservative here. That was a bold play by Tsujikawa.
I don't really blame Chow for folding there. I think it's believable. Maybe he flatted with some kind of suited ace or medium ace pre-flop, and then seeing that monotone board, decided to lead out with it before he could get checked behind and face a 4th heart coming off.
I think that was his problem. There were 3 hearts on the board. I think if only 2 hearts are out there, there's a good chance he'd make a move there
Agreed.
by raising him. But with 3 hearts out there, you're always fearful your opponent may just have the king of hearts and want to go with the hand, you know.
Now over to Sumida. The ace 5 on the cutoff. He's going to raise it up.
100,000.
That is Yuichi Sumida from Tokyo. He says he got started playing poker because his friend forced him to play in Macau.
Wow. I didn't know friends could force you to play, but looks like it's worked out for him.
Hope his friend has a percentage of him today. And he's going to take that one down. So as you anticipated, Mike, mostly small ball poker so far beyond the first hand where the short stack got in with the king-queen suited.
Yeah, as I said, I'll be surprised if we see 3 bets without a hand at this final table. I think you're going to see them when a guy's got a hand, but other than that, it would pretty much surprise me from what I've seen so far this week.
Now, is this your first time in the Philippines during this trip?
It is my first time in the Philippines, and I'm really pretty amazed how big Manila is. I didn't realize it was that 19, 20 million population. Incredible, about the 6th largest city in the world.
Yeah, massive city, very, very sprawled out as well.
Fold.
Back with Yuichi Sumida and his king-queen suited.
We should point out what an amazing property this Solaire is as well. Just
Great property.
beautiful property.
Fold.
Nice hotel, great poker facilities, great casino.
Excellent staff, too. Really helpful.
Yeah.
Kevin Ong here with the Jack 7 suited on the button. He doesn't have a lot of room to be making calls, but he might try and sneak into this pot.
Wow. Well,
Looks like he's 3-betting.
well, just I said they wouldn't do this. They're doing it.
Yeah.
270.
Now that's amazing to me. I'm impressed with it. Now they're very superstitious. Asians are, as you know. Now this is a 7-11, so maybe it's a lucky number for him, and that's why he's doing it.
I kind of like Jack 7 suited for a hand to be bluffing with pre-flop, but the tricky part here for Kevin is he's put about a third of his stack at risk with this re-raise.
His opponent plays or makes a move on him here. I'm sure he can see a flop with the Jack 7.
I would be very surprised if Sumita folded. I'm just not sure if he's going to go all in or call. I guess call from what we are expecting from these guys, and there is the call.
He did make the call, so we're going to see a flop.
Kevin sticks out his tongue.
Right now, Ang is realizing most likely he's going to have to bluff at this pot if he wants to win it. Now it's ace 10-4, so he's got the bluff card out there.
Yes, definitely. Follows through with the bet here, it will almost certainly succeed.
If you're going to 3-bet with the Jack 7, I think you've just got to have the heart to fire a bet on the flop no matter what comes out there if you want to win the pot. And he is going to do it. It's not a big bet.
No, doesn't really need to be.
No.
60.
As you can see, Sumita has the gut shot straight draw and the backdoor flush draw. You're always fearful your opponent's got an ace, but.
And he does let it go, so
And
Kevin
lets it go.
gets away with one there.
So there you go, the 3-bet with the weak hand working. It's good to see. I didn't think we'd see much of that. I'm already surprised. I got to tell you the truth.
Now, when we have our final tables in the States and Canada and many other places, it's very common for players to be aware of the stream and have someone at home or a friend watching the stream feed them hands and get a sense of how their opponents are playing. Do you think these guys are going to take advantage of that opportunity today?
No. And I say that there's only 2 guys in their 20s at the table, 2 in their 30s, 2 in their late 40s. And I didn't see anybody out there with friends before this final table started saying, okay, now call me, wire me, tell me what's going on in the live feed, blah, blah, blah. I just didn't see it. Now, maybe 1 or 2 of them's doing it, but I just don't get that feel that it's going to happen here like it does, as you said, at most big-time events.
And we are on a delay here. So it would be slightly old information that they're getting. But it would give them a sense of what kind of risks their opponents are taking. And it looks like Kevin wants to get involved with a 4-3 offsuit.
Well, we saw him outdraw the first hand when he was all in with king high. He won that pot. Then he pulled off a successful bluff with the Jack 7. So right now he's feeling his Wheaties.
And he managed to stop himself.
But, yeah, caught himself just in time there. Look at this.
Douglas Olson.
Olson raising with the 9-6 offsuit. I just didn't think we'd see this kind of play at this table. I'm surprised and delighted to see it, I might add.
Definitely.
So there you go. Fist pump for him, and why not? He knows he had junk.
Taking advantage of his position there and the cautious play of his opponents.
That brought a smile to Gus Hansen's face, I promise you.
Doug, originally from Stockholm, now makes his home here in Manila. They said, you know, which flag do you want to represent you for the broadcast? He says, oh, yeah, I want the Philippines flag.
Yeah. You know, I've met a number of Americans that have come over here when I've been here, that live here. A couple Europeans, a couple Australians that live here in Manila now. They like the poker here. They like the environment. They like the cost of living. So
yeah.
A lot of pluses here for them. Notice I didn't mention the girls. Which I noticed that.
Which this can also be motivating.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you what you did at night this week because I've got a good idea. But
please, I'm a well-behaved young professional.
But there's a reason that you didn't play on day one.
Yeah.
There's a reason that you didn't rebuy, and you were anxious to get out of the town here, looks like to me.
I wish I could say I'd been really living it up this trip, but I actually felt a little bit ill and was not feeling my best on day 1 or day 2. I played very poorly when I did play and decided that I was not going to re-enter because my focus was not there. And then the next day I woke up and I was really sick, you know, just wasn't very much able to get out of bed that day. But I do feel better today, and meanwhile we see Kevin raising here with his king 4 suited on the hijack, but he's run into the pocket 10s behind him.
This is a hand that will most likely get 3-bet.
Re-raise.
Luigi has raised.
Luigi is going to re-raise here.
Make it 235.
Another 35 more.
Raise is 135.
Going up to 235.
I think you just have to give it up here, don't you, with a king 4?
I would think so, especially at these stack sizes with such little flexibility.
Yeah, it's not like you're deep stacked, as you said, where you can take flops. You just can't afford to do it when you only got 20, 25 big blinds.
Kevin stacking chips like he disagrees with us.
Wow. This is not what I was expecting at all at this final table. We've seen some moves being made by these guys. So far, all the moves have worked out. But in the end, I believe he's going to jettison this hand.
I think one major problem with continuing at this point is he's shown so much hesitance.
Yeah, showing weakness by waiting so long. So definitely you're going to get played with if you got 2 10s in this spot. If a guy takes this long to act.
Oh, he's re-raising. Wow.
I am in shock.
35.
Kevin On going full throttle with king 4 suited. Making the 4-bet.
I'll tell you, 2 10s have now shrunk up considerably. You know, the best you can be in is a race here up against ace king, ace queen. Yeah.
Wow, and the move does work.
Every move this guy has made has worked so far. He 3-bet with a jack 7, then continued on the flop to win that pot. Here he 4-bet with a king 4 to win this pot.
You know, I'll give some credit to Kevin that he does seem to have a certain psychological edge over his opponents and that he's willing to go broke on any given hand, and most of the table around him has been a little more restrained.
Thanks for sure. He's not looking to move up in prize money. He's looking to take down the title. That's what it looks like to me. Anybody that plays that aggressive, especially with 6 players left at the final table, it tells me if they go out, they go out, but they're going to go for it. They're not going to hold back. They're going to play bold and brave, and certainly that's what he's doing so far.
Well, certainly makes for better material for our broadcast. We wanted to see some chips fly today.
Well, I'm stunned. You know, they played so conservative for so long to get down to these 6 players. I mean, literally every hand was a raise and fold 90% of the pots to get down to these final 6, but all of a sudden now we're seeing some 3-bets with Garfunkel hands.
I'm back with Kevin.
Well, you just have a feeling because all these players are working, he's just going to keep it up. But not under the gun with this hand, surely.
He can barely contain himself.
Man.
Now Douglas here, opening the action with the ace 3 suited.
Well, we know players like to play the rush and play when they're on a roll. Certainly hang on one now, but out of this pot. Now Chow faced with a decision what to do with the ace suited.
Now, it wouldn't surprise me to see Chow make a light re-raise here. He's got a pretty nice hand to do it with, and I think that's what he just did there.
He's the one player at the table that I know will make the 3-bet.
I believe he's gone to 225 if I'm seeing that right. And I kind of like this play here. He's got a good hand to make the play with. The stacks are right. That, you know, it's a lot of chips for his opponent to just shove it in. He's in position in the hand, and he's against an opponent who seems to have a little more discretion than Kevin. That's a nice play from Chow.
It's a standard raise with the ace 3 suited in a short-handed poker game, but when the guy re-raises you and you're short stacked, it's tough to keep playing. You just don't have the chips to mess around where you can call 3-bet raise and then fold after the flop because you just don't have that many chips. You just burn them right up.
Well, Moonfei Chow is from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.
Yeah, if I had to pick a favorite at this final table, it would be Chow.
I agree. Especially after what we've seen so far. I think he's playing a pretty balanced game.
And I played with him for 2 days. you know, he was the most aggressive player at the tables that I played at.
He wanted people to know that he's mostly a cash game player, which to me typically means a guy's a little more skillful. You know, when the stacks are shorter, you have less complicated decisions, but if you're going to make your living in cash games, you better understand this game pretty well. Samita here, opening the action with ace-deuce.
I would say the same thing if you're going to make a living playing tournament poker.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. You know, you're going to make a living at this
man.
game anymore. It's not going to be easy.
It is not easy, and I have such respect for guys that do it because I know how tough it is. But not supposed to be easy.
Mike, do you have many more tournaments upcoming for the rest of this fall WPT season?
Well, I'm going to play in Jacksonville.
Okay.
I'll be playing in that one, and then I'm going over to England. I'm going to play the WPT event over there as well.
Is that dusk till dawn?
So, yeah, dusk till dawn. I'm looking forward to that, as well as a party poker event over there in England while I'm there. So I've got a couple more coming up in November for sure.
Right. How about Montreal? Will we see you there?
Unfortunately, I'm going to be in England. I come to Montreal,
okay.
but I'm not there in time to play the tournament.
Gotcha.
And I played that event the last couple times, and I really enjoy that event. So I hate to miss out on playing it, but
we always have a great time in Montreal.
I'll be there for the final table, and hopefully you're sitting there.
That's I plan to be a little more on my game for that event.
Well, at least you give yourself an honest evaluation of your play, which is something I recommend to all players to do. You know, normally you like to make excuses. You took a bad beat, you did this, you did that. But when you're a real poker player, you know when you made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know when you made a bad play.
Or in my case, several.
Yeah. and you talk to yourself when the hand's over with, knowing that you did wrong, and you know, to man up to it and say, you know, I just played bad, and you know, we all do it once in a while, and certainly you have to recognize it when it happens to you, and you know, just admit, you know, well, I just didn't have it today.
There is a shot of our payouts. 159 up top. That will be the largest score. Excuse me, 156 up top. That'll be the largest score for any of these players, I do believe.
For those that don't know, the buy-in for this event was $2,200. And it was exactly the right price buy-in for this tournament.
Agreed.
They had a 25,000 high roller tournament, but I think they only got 8 or 9 players for that event.
Oh, and actually, you know, another couple of big-name international players, and the eventual winner of that was Jason Moe, who is a high-stakes player online. He beat Dan Jungleman Cates.
Yeah,
Heads
Jungleman
up.
was around.
So they were both at this event, hanging out, playing in the main, and then I was watching some football with Jason last night. Actually, we all went out to watch some late-night football last night.
Yeah, we did. It's nice to see that they had it on here in Manila.
Tsuchikawa going to open this pot with his queen 10 on the cutoff.
Ang is going to be at it again. Look at this guy go here. Every pot he's won, he hasn't had a hand or he outdrew the guy. And again, well, he didn't pull the trigger this time, but it would have worked had he done it, I believe.
Tsuchikawa will take down that pot. Relieved that Kevin left him alone for once.
He was holding his breath that the guy didn't re-raise him. That's for sure.
You know, pretty relaxed final table. Not too talkative.
Nobody's saying a word, but you know, most players over here are very mellow.
Agreed.
You know, we had some things happen in this tournament that were a little unusual, and a lot of players would freak out about it, but these guys just took it all in stride. We came back from a dinner break once where they started a little bit early, and you know, not much was said about it. We started day 2 of this tournament. We were supposed to start at noon, didn't really get started till, you know, 45 minutes late or so, and nobody said much about it, and everybody stayed pretty calm, cool, and collected. So players are laid back over here, and you know, they just go with the flow, which is nice to see.
Douglas Olson here on the button with a king-jack of diamonds. Going up to 100. Gao in the small blind with a king-queen offsuit. One of those tricky stack size situations.
What would you do here with king, queen, Tony?
Oh, well, against some players, I would 3-bet fold. Against some, I would just go all in. I think the only thing I wouldn't do is call. It's just a very hard, it's very difficult to win this hand if you just call pre-flop on this stack size. There are some stack sizes, if I had a little more, I might just call pre-flop. But usually when I'm in the small blind, I'm playing a re-raise or fold, a strategy with a few exceptions.
Well, it's like he's taking your advice because he has 3-bet it to 255,000. Let's put the pressure on Olsen again.
Yeah.
Last time we saw pressure on him, he had the ace-3 of hearts. He released the hand when he got 3-bet. Let's see what he does this time with the king-jack suited.
Definitely the kind of hand he could flat call with here. Some players choose these type of hands to go all in with. But I'm guessing that he'll call, as this hand does play quite well post-flop.
Just hate calling raise with king-jacks. Because whatever comes out there, you could be out-kicked if you hit your hand, and then you go for your stack. That's part of the problem with it. But he is in position here. Does have more chips.
Oh, and he folds. I was not expecting that one.
Well, the guy saw the last time he was 3-bet, he laid his hand down. So maybe he laid it down again, and he did. And players notice that, incidentally. If you raise and then release your hand every time somebody 3-bets you, believe me, guys will pick up on it, and they will be 3-betting you a lot.
Andrew Gao, also from Manila. 35-year-old takes down that pot. He's a chess and basketball player. Basketball is the go-to sport here in the Philippines. I've been talking to so many of the staff. They've had their fantasy draft this week. Big into the NBA.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I thought Manny Pacquiao might be here at this event because he is a poker player, we know.
That's
He's
right.
played at the Commerce a lot and does like poker, but it turns out he's on a professional basketball team here himself. He plays basketball on a basketball team. He owns the team.
That's right, that's true.
But they said he was tied up with that, which is why he didn't play here. But it would have been nice to have Manny Pacquiao in the house.
What doesn't that guy do? He's a senator here.
Yeah.
He's one of the all-time great boxers, now a basketball player. I believe, does he have a singing career? Is that right? Singing career as well. Chow opening the action here with an ace-jack.
Everybody has nothing, all folding.
For Chow, let's go with his king-8 suited. Samita folds 6-4 in the big. So, Mike, what do you think of the prospects of Manny Pacquiao eventually fighting Floyd Mayweather?
Well, I'm so disappointed it didn't happen a couple years ago when they would have got $60 million apiece for the fight or more. I'm sure Mayweather would get a little bit more, but if you are a professional fighter and you get that kind of money to fight, it just seems inconceivable to me that you don't take it. And I know both of them have tons of money, and neither one of them want to lose, et cetera, but for that kind of money, how do you not do it? And plus, it's the fight that everybody in the world wants to see.
Fight of the
the
century.
fight that people want to see. And now as time's going by, you know, that spark for everybody wanting to see it, you know, they still want to see it, but it's just not there when they're in their A+ games like they were a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I was very disappointed they didn't fight then, but honestly, I'm still dying for them to fight each other.
I really want to see that fight. I believe both of them are approaching 40 at this point. So, you know, slowing down a little bit in their speed, but both those guys so sharp, so quick. And really where they made their reputation was speed as fighters.
Well, Mayweather, without a doubt, the greatest defensive fighter of all time by a long distance, I might add. But Pacquiao so fast, as you said, and hit so hard for a little guy. But you would just think that Mayweather's size would give him an edge over Pacquiao.
He'd have about 2-3 inches of reach, wouldn't he?
I know one thing, everybody would tune in to watch it.
Yep. Long here opening up with the pocket fives first to act.
Best hand he's picked up.
Yep.
Even though we've seen him win 3 or 4 pots so far.
No taker, so he'll take down another one.
He is on a roll. Started with a short stack here and doing very well at this final table.
May very
He's
well be
yet
our-
to lose a pot that he's put chips in.
Yeah. That's pretty rare. Great feeling at the start of a final table. It's
sort of like you on the island last year when you won your WPT title.
Yeah, I
it
just
seemed like
couldn't lose a pot, could I?
It was great. Are you going back to defend your title?
I
instead?
will be there. I'll be there in about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, fantastic.
From island to island.
Well, we have yet to have a guy defend his title, so you could be the first, Tony.
Ooh, and you know,
It'd be fantastic.
that event was about 190 players last year, and I think we'll do something similar this year, right around 200. So, not an overwhelming odds against me.
Well, as Stu Unger once told me, anybody can win a poker tournament. Defending, that's where it's at. Nobody's done it yet on the World Poker Tour, so it'd be just really, really exciting if you could do it. Be the first to do it.
Stu was able to to defend his World Series main event championship,
Yeah,
right?
The first 2 times he entered
Yep.
it, I might add. He won it the first 2 times he ever played it, and the last time he ever played it.
That's quite an accomplishment
Yeah, pretty amazing.
for one of the all-time greats.
All right, here we go. We saw Chow raise it with a king-8 offsuit here, but ace-king is definitely going to move in this spot.
Doubt he'll get either player to go in with him.
No, he's going to get no action here, I wouldn't think, unless Samita just wants to gamble here, which he could do, but Ang is just posturing. 0 chance he's coming in this pot. That's why I don't understand why players stall.
I don't get this one.
I mean, it's just farcical to me that a guy in that situation where nobody expects you to have a hand but act like you have one when you don't. Just waste time.
Chow putting on a little act of his own.
Just posturing for the next hand. Act like he had a hand there every time he raised it, but we know he didn't have one. So a nice all-in bet, taking down that pot. But a standard play, I might add. Certainly let chip count.
Big hand. Tsuchikawa increases his stack by 30%.
Wins a pot at this final table and increase their stack substantially because these are not deep stacks at all.
No. I believe our chip leader entering the final table had 33 blinds.
That's something you rarely see. As you said, it took them 4 hours to go from 8 players to 6, so they went from like 10 to 20,000 all the way up to 25 and 50,000 blinds.
Kept having all-ins where the shorter stack with the worse hand doubled up numerous times.
See, if blinds were 10 and 20 or 15 and 30 here, then players would have much more opportunities to raise, possibly see flops, and then play from there. But blinds start out at 25 and 50,000. The biggest stack is 1.6 million. Just not going to see a lot of post-flop action.
Ichi Sumida there takes down, raising ace rag on the cutoff.
That ribbon he's got around his neck is not a blue ribbon that he got for making this final table. It's a player badge, an identity card that they give all the players entering this tournament. So we were all wearing those. And every day they check you in with those things. They give you a little sticker to put on it that you're the right person. And you know, I love the security in this hotel, as a matter of fact. Just coming in, I was so impressed. The dogs sniff all the luggage.
Yep.
They have bomb dogs out here. They check every car that comes into the property, and it really gives you a safe feeling.
Very much so. It's really thorough here. It's a very new property they have here as well. I want to say 6 or 9 months old about. Is it even a year old?
Yeah, and I was talking to the president of the casino the other day, and he's telling me the expansion plans they have coming up in the next 2 years.
Whoa.
One by the end of this year, where it's going to double in size and almost triple in size within 2 years' time. So, and this is a big property now.
And you see some other major casino properties being built down the road too. So, big expansion of gambling in Asia right now.
Yes, it is. Well, as we all know, the Asians are the biggest gamblers in the world. Here's a flop of 10-9-4, all spades.
Olsen with a mystery hand for the moment.
Yeah, but any kind of bet he makes is going to win this pot. That's for sure. Look at the hand. Well, and that's the case. Yeah, Mr. Olsen, he gets happy every time he wins a pot anyway, so you got to like that.
Got his girlfriend in the stands with him today, who he says is his favorite poker player. These are our beautiful Royal Flush girls.
Yeah, there's
Ivy
some
and-
of our favorites right there.
That's right, Ivy and Jeannie.
They've had a big time here. We saw the clips of them out scuba diving this week. First time they've ever done that in their life. Have you ever scuba dived, Tony?
No, just snorkeling, never scuba diving.
Yeah, me too. But they said they had training instructors with them and all. And Jeannie she's an emotional girl anyway, and said she was crying underwater. It was so beautiful while she was scuba diving, and you just have
a sight.
You have to love that.
Chow with the ace queen here.
Raise.
You see, he acted very quickly there. I'll be curious to see if he acts as quickly when he's not as strong.
Just the min raise too, notice.
Kevin contemplating again with the queen deuce behind him. And normally I'd say he's posturing, but from what he's done so far, he might actually enter this pot.
Well, Tony, unless the player makes a standard min raise every time, regardless of what they have, many times when a guy makes a min raise, he's got a stronger hand than when he makes a larger raise.
I agree.
It's a bit of a tell here.
And
I got a
Chow.
feeling you're going to see Chow take these walking sticks, and he may walk in the middle of the pot with them. Nope, just going to call. The mid pair. To raise or not to raise, that's a question. He just called. We're going to see a flop.
It's difficult to play these out of position post-flop, but he's flopped the set. King 7-4.
Very difficult to play this. It's just going to be a check. Let his opponent make the continuation bet, but he's going to lead out.
Oh no, I don't like this bet at all, Mike.
It's a terrible play. With a king on the board, a guy's going to make a continuation bet at least 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Now
Just
he's going to escape the hand. So
cost
the
himself
guy's
a
got
bunch of money.
kings. You're going to catch him when you raise him anyway. He's not going anywhere. But if
Yeah.
he doesn't have kings, he's just going to throw the hand away where you make nothing. So I'm with you, Tony. I think that was a guffaw in gall. You can understand possibly make it if it was, you know, king, queen, 7, where a guy might come in, but still a very mysterious play. When a guy raised pre-flop, just go ahead and let him take the lead in the hand. And maybe we just call him on the flop.
Classic case of winning the pot but losing money.
Yep, exactly right. You've got to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. It seems so infrequent that you flop sets, and when you flop them, you've got to play them correctly where you get maximum value out of them, and certainly Gall lost value there, at least in our mind.
Kevin with his strongest hand so far at this final table, a pair of 9s.
And it's going to be raised, just a matter of how much.
Oh.
Well, so much for my theory. This is a play I don't like at all.
This guy certainly has us confused, Mike.
Well, yeah, he's just going exactly opposite of everything I saw, but maybe he limps in. Somebody's going to try to steal it here, and you see that on the button here with the jack deuce.
Oh, that was no, that was Olsen with the jack deuce. Andrew Gow as an ace king. And
Oh,
it would
excuse
not
me.
surprise me to see Kevin back raise here, but I just don't know what to expect from him anymore.
You limp in and a guy raises, you just think he's trying to take advantage because you limped in. You don't necessarily put him on this strong a hand, so I would guess he would raise in this spot. I would do it if I limped in. I'm not going to limp in with 2 9s. Just don't want the blinds to win a pot with a jack deuce against me.
It's always hard to project what you would do in a situation that you would never play.
Well, we've seen this guy 3-bet with no hand several times at this final table. Now he's got a hand. Of course, we think he's going to re-raise here, but he may just fold the hand, as far as we know, from what we've seen. Everything backwards, what we say, but he's just making the call. So we're going to have a flop here. It's come queen 4-3.
Check.
And he checks the 2 9s. This is the difficulty. If your opponent makes a bet here, Does he have a queen or not? You're at a total guess in this situation.
200.
200 from Andrew here.
It's a tough spot, no doubt about it. And we can see he has the best hand with 2 nines, but when you're at the table and an overcard comes out there to a pre-flop raiser, you're worried he's got a bigger pair or he hit the overcard. If you raise and get your stack in there with this and lose this pot, you're walking out of the arena talking to yourself, why didn't I just fold? What do you do, Tony?
I think I probably call once if I just limped. Your hand is so underrepresented. And your opponent is going to bet a queen 4-3 flop with most of his weak holding, so I don't think I'd be ready to fold my 9s on the flop here.
Even if you just call, you're almost advertising you don't have a queen in your hand. Where you give the guy a chance to bet again to take the pot away from you and win more chips. But that's what he's done. He's just called. His problem's going to be if the guy bets on the turn. 10 comes off, so now he's got the straight draw as well. But it's the kind of card that your opponent may check with ace king here.
Gives him 4 additional outs to the jack.
Presents another problem for Ang. It's another overcard. Could he possibly lead out here, Tony?
Now that would. I just don't understand anymore. And he's going to do exactly
what he's doing. So once another overcard's come out, now he's let out and bet. Now you're saying to yourself, now what's a guy doing with a 10? How can that possibly help his hand? But he's going to lay it down. So
it's a sort of blocking bet from Kevin there. Doesn't want to see the river and have another overcard peel off. And I guess he was planning to bet and then fold if he got raised, but very strange way to play his pair of 9s, especially from someone who's been so aggressive so far.
yeah, turns out it's right. His opponent may have checked on the turn and beat him on the river, but that hand mysteriously played right from the get-go in my mind by limping in with the 2 nines to start with. Still worked out for him.
Yes, it did. And
One
I
thing for
believe
sure, this guy's on the move.
he is our chip leader now, too, after coming in with the short stack an hour ago.
And he's batting 1,000 for every pot he plays, so that's certainly a remedy for success.
Hold. Hold. Raise. 100,000.
Andrew here going to enter the next hand. He's got a king-queen on the cutoff. Smeater with his second pair of 10s of the day.
You would think this would get 3-bet automatically.
They're all in.
Yep, it's an all-in 3-bet as well. I like the play.
Yeah, agreed.
Don't give your opponent a chance to outflop you or you lose your chips. If you got a better hand, good luck to him.
Easy for me to see since I knew what his opponent Kevin was doing last time, but I wouldn't mind him seeing him jam his previous pair of 10s in there. And I also think that if he was going to 3-bet and then consider folding after, he was probably better off just calling pre-flop. But one thing you'll see from less experienced players is they don't always have a plan for what could potentially happen next. And that's one of those reasons you want to think about, all right, well, if I raise, then what am I going to do if my opponent comes over the top?
Yeah,
Raise that.
it should definitely be in your thought process all the time. I mean, poker's become like chess now, where you really got to think, not this move you're making, but the move after that, and after that, and after that. What are you going to do if the guy raises you? What are you going to do on the next street? How are you going to proceed with the hand? And that applies when you have a hand or if you're setting up a bluff down the river.
Well, Yuichi Samita finds a pocket pair, 2 hands in a row, now with 5s on the button.
Call.
Luigi calls 10,000.
Gonna raise with the 2 5s. Like,
Well, I think he called a raise from Douglas Olson, whose hand we are not seeing there, and giving an opportunity to repeat his performance with pocket 9s.
well, even though he played him mysteriously, he won the last pot with him, so I'm not criticizing anything he does with these 9s. It looks like a perfect squeeze opportunity anyway to me. But he's just going to call, so there you go.
I agree with you, Mike. I think that's a great opportunity to re-raise pre-flop. Both of his opponents don't have
The guy
that
raised,
many
the
chips.
other guy called, so you're not going to put him on a strong hand, but whoa, 997. Now, please don't lead out, whatever you do. Don't shock me and lead out with the 4 9s.
Don't you do it, Kevin.
It should just be an instant check.
There
Forget
we
about
go.
a long check where you act like you might have 1 9. I think you check this all the way to the river. You just give them chances to keep betting. And if they bet, you just call.
And Douglas Olson, with his mystery hand, gonna bet out 150.
And the 2 5s,
Fold.
why does it go away? Now, if I was Zhang, I would just call this. I would want the guy to make a straight or a flush if he had nothing. Hit an overcard if he had it. Or better yet, fill up if he's got a pair, but I would not raise him out of the pot here. I don't believe that he's going to raise here.
Don't do it, Kevin.
Well, he is going to raise it. I just can't believe it.
He's gonna make it just over a min raise too.
Unbelievable.
Really making his hand look like 1 9.
But that's going to be enough to get the guy out. You call. Looks like you might have a straight draw or a flush draw.
Yep.
Or maybe just 2 7s.
Douglas gives him a little look and folds the hand.
Just can't believe more value lost there, in my opinion, by a player. You know, that reminds me of the worst hand I've ever seen played in the history of poker in my mind. Was at the final table of the main event of the World Series of Poker. 6 players left. Tucson Don was the chip leader at that time. He never played no limit hold'em. He was a stud player. He had the chip lead. He raised the pot. Stu Unger and I were standing right there next to the table watching the action. Don Williams called. He didn't know what to do. He finally mucks him, and Don Williams turns up 2 8s. He flopped quads and moved in on the flop with quad 8s. I said to Stewie, who I'm standing right next to, I said, Stewie, I can't believe it. That's the worst play in the history of poker of all time. I can't believe how bad that is. The worst play ever. And in 1 second, Stewie said that wasn't the worst play. The worst play was showing him.
Well, I think that's a great note in which to go onto this break. Oh man, you know, sometimes you really get surprised by hands, but we will be back here shortly for our next level.
Okay.
Korean celebrity.
Actually, can I get pictures from you guys?
Okay.
Yeah, Korean celebrity.
Okay. Okay, 1, 2. One more. Okay. Okay, 1, 2. One more. Wait, I'll wait for the WPT background. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, one more. Thank you. Nice.
Yeah. Okay, girls. 로열 플래시 여자애들도
It's at the upload is at the WPT. Flickr.com.
What's the name?
And then photos and World Poker Tour.
I'm the crush your picture. Congratulations.
Okay, hold on. Okay, okay, look at please. What? Can you? Yeah, move the chair lid. Okay. Okay, one more. Thank you.
Matt, can you join us?
Can you fix your tie a little bit straighter?
It's going crazy.
Sorry. It's going sideways.
Always. Okay now?
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2. One more. One more. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Respect.
Andrew Gow has 1,030,000. Chow with 1,305,000. Yuichi Sugita with 1,110,000. Tetsuya Tsuchikawa with 975. Douglas Olson in seat 6 has 985. And our chip leader with 2,315,000. Kevin Ong.
Already brains up.
Yes, sir.
And here we go with 30 and 60,000 with 10 remaining.
Well, cards are about to be back in the air here, but there has been an alteration to our final table. The RFID cards we were using to see the players' hole cards before were initially approved by the Filipino Gaming Commission. However, there was some communication in the last few hours that said that the cards were to be taken out of play. This is the first time they've held such an event here, and just to take extra precaution, they're not quite certain if they're comfortable with that, so they have removed the cards from play, and we will be going blind for the rest of this final table and talking about the cards and without being able to see them. So Mike and I are going to get into the guessing game today, which could be a little tricky from some of the plays we saw before. We're not quite sure what to expect from these guys.
Yeah, we're as disappointed as you all are, obviously, that you can't see hole cards anymore, but it's a gray area here. As he said, they don't want to do anything that could jeopardize their gaming license at all. This is a mega gaming resort, and certainly, you know, because it's such a gray area for them the first time they've done it, they're just not going to take any more chances. So we will be going dark, as Tony said, so it's good news and bad news. The good news, we're still here. The bad news is we don't get to see the whole cards, but it'll be fun guessing right along with us what these guys have.
And Mike, I get the sense that you and I are probably going to guess wrong a few times tonight.
Well, I would have guessed wrong when I was watching the cards.
Yes,
I was guessing wrong. So.
That's right. Maybe we'll improve, actually. Tsuchikawa here with the button. He has been one of the more conservative players at this final table so far. And we talked before about how automatic his raise was when he had an ace-queen, and now we see him here very much contemplating whether he wants to enter the pot. So
he's going to bet 125,000. It looks like blinds are 30 and 60,000, as you can see, with a 10,000 ante. So it's just above the min raise.
Ong now our clear chip leader with 2.3 million. We know he normally likes to posture regardless of his hand strength, but we'll see if he recognized what we were discussing.
Well, he's the guy that's made the most moves at this final table so far by a long ways. And it is sort of sad that we don't get to see what kind of cards he has now to make these moves. And you can see it looks like he's contemplating a 3-bet here.
Now, even without knowing his cards, I'm going to like this raise because we saw.
Look, we saw him 3-bet with a Jack-7. We saw him 3-bet, 4-bet with a King-4, and then we saw him lead right out with 4-9. So, you know, he's puzzled us completely here, but so far it's working for him. He started as a short stack, and now he's the chip leader, and he is 3-betting it, as you can see.
And while I might be hallucinating things, I could swear that his hand was shaking visibly as he slid those chips into the pot. And typically I associate a hand shaking, especially one that he's trying to constrict, as strength.
Yep, it's true. He has about twice as many chips. We started this pot as his opponent, so.
Again, Tsuchikawa with the button.
It's 3-bet to 285,000. So that's more than a third of the guy's stack. So in my mind, he's either going to have to ship it or muck it right here. I just can't see him making a call and then throwing his hand away after the flop, just leaving him $500,000 left.
He does lay it down.
Ang has made moves to win pots earlier at this final table. These guys have never seen a hand that he's had. He didn't see the Jack-7. They didn't see the King-4. They also didn't see the 4-9s. But here's a case. He 3-bets it and takes down the pot. So He's the man right now at this table.
It's gone from 0 to hero in just one level. Came in as our short stack around 800,000, now around 2.5 million.
Yeah,
Good for about 40 blinds.
He's not a poker professional. He's an operations manager. Been playing poker for 5 years. This is his first ever WPT event.
He's got the fearless nature of a professional. Normally when someone's less experienced, you see them lean conservative, but not in Kevin's case today.
He's 29 years old. Says his hobbies are eating, sleeping, and watching football.
Hey, he should have come with us last night.
We'd have been right there, but you wonder when they say football if they mean soccer.
That's
here,
right. Very
like
well
they do
could
in
be.
Europe. In Europe, they say football, they mean soccer. In America, of course, football is football.
Tsuchikawa with a quick raise this time. No contemplation. Just slid that 125 out there immediately. Now Andrew Gao in the big blind. Wondering how much his opponent has.
Well, looks like he's going all in. You know, they have an all-in button here that's shaped like a triangle. And players are making the triangle sign every time they went all in yesterday. And I did it a couple of times. It's fun to do.
I like that.
I liked it.
And it is an all-in. You were right, Mike, and an immediate call from Tsuchikawa. So, so far, he does have an ace-king there so far. We've seen
Certainly a player going all in with his chip stack, no doubt about it.
a lot of consistency with his speed of action relative to the strength of his hand.
It's the classic race here, 2 9s versus ace-king. As we all know, you got to win races to win tournaments. So far, the ace-king out in front. Now, Gaw does have more chips, as you can see. He won't be broke if he loses this pot, but he will be on the respirator. Now, 10 won't even win it.
Nope.
He can't make a straight with a 10 because his opponent will have a bigger straight. Must catch a 9 on the river. Doesn't happen. Kawa doubling up there, making 2 kings.
Now just kind of unlucky for Andrew Gao. Played a pretty good final table so far.
Yeah, he's one of those solid players. Doesn't make a lot of moves, but he's got a hand when he gets his money in there. Unfortunately for him, he lost the race here. To be down to about 3 big blinds.
That'll put him all the way up to second in chips at 1.75 million. So the Japanese contingent making progress. At these 30, 60 blinds, we only have one player above 30 big blinds.
They love their poker in Japan, that's for sure. When I put on the Tournament of Champions back in the late 90s, I invited countries and people to come, and a guy from Japan called me up and said, can I bring a team from Japan to play in the poker tournament? I said, sure. A guy named Hiroshima, and he brought a team of about 10 Japanese players over to play in my Tournament of Champions.
Really?
Yeah, it's fascinating. And they just loved it.
And as you know, gambling is very restricted in Japan, and it's only recently that they've started building some casinos.
Yeah. And I had my niece Shauna there, and she'd just done a year study in Japan as an exchange student. So she could translate for all these guys that spoke just Japanese, and they just loved her having her around there. And it worked out great. They were all happy that they came.
How'd they do in the tournament?
And none of them did too well in the tournament, but it was an experience for them.
Yep.
And now look at them. Here they are at the final tables. So the Japanese will certainly be a force to be reckoned with in the future. I understand Tokyo is getting some big-time casinos. When that happens, if they put poker in there, look out, because you will see a major market in Japan for the poker.
A lot of talk in Asia right now as the remaining emerging poker market. We already have so many tournaments, United States, Canada, Europe, even South America. But a lot of untapped potential here in Asia.
Well, Soler wants to be a poker capital here in Asia, and they certainly have a leg up to do it. It's just a fantastic property. This is easily traveling distance from all the Asian countries. And players like it here, so I think they're going to get bigger and bigger turnouts for their poker events for sure. And it goes check, check on the flop here. Chow has checked again.
I feel a player like Tsujikawa checking back this flop would typically have some kind of pair beneath the ace.
Yeah.
I'd expect him to bet his aces and bet his weakest hands, but maybe something like a 7 or 8s or 9s.
In that case, he was just waving the flag, going to give up if his opponent bet at the pot.
So Tsujikawa continues to build his stack. There's our updated chip counts. As you can see, Andrew Gao really on life support with his 2 big blinds after losing that flip. And Douglas Olson hanging tight at 14 blinds.
Six players still left, but one of them on the extreme short stack, and Tony seems to me he's going to have to get it in here before the blind comes up to get any value at all for his money. Doesn't much matter what he has, he just got to gamble a bit here. Hope to get lucky and win a pot where you have a few chips. Looks like Mr. Olson here getting out some raising chips. In fact, all of them, he's moving all in. The former Swede who's moved to Manila, moving in.
Now with Gao in his last couple of blinds.
Yep. Make a bold prediction here, Tony. Not that bold, really. But Gao is going to get all his money in either the next pot or the one after that.
In the next 2 hands?
Next 2 hands, all in for sure.
Let's see, what's it costing him? 5,000 or 10,000 a hand right now, so he really does not have room to wait.
I just don't see how he can afford to wait till it's his blind to get his money in, because even if he doubles up, he still won't have much. At least if you get it in when the blind money's out there, you get a chance to win a little bit of money. But we'll see. My prediction holds true. Really not that bold a prediction.
I encountered a similar scenario at our Monster Invitational at the Borgata, where I lost a big pot to David Williams, and I had something like 2 or 3 blinds left, and so I ended up folding the entire orbit looking for something 9-3, 8 deuce. I think I ended up slamming it in with like Queen 4 offsuit under the gun or something, and I was thrilled to have a face card.
Yeah. That's what I felt yesterday. I was down to 10 players and couldn't pick up a hand at all, and finally had the king 8 of diamonds, and I was going to be, the blinds were 10 and 20,000 at the time, and I was going to be in the blind next with about 150,000, so I shipped it. Got called by the ace high and hit the rail, but I was happy to get the king 8 of diamonds. Have a fighting chance. I was up against ace 6.
Just got to win one more all in. We might be seeing you here.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda. A lot of guys took a lot worse beats than me on the
Yeah.
way out, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Smita out of the small blind, takes it down against Tsujikawa.
Oh, well, my prediction is going to come true. Gao has to be an all in the next spot. I gave him 2 hands. That was 1. On day 2 of this tournament, guy got it all in with ace king against an ace 10 all in. They were both all in for the flop, and they come ace king deuce. And the guy with ace king was so happy, and they come queen jack, and the guy with ace king just was stunned. He just couldn't believe it. He just stared at the board. He didn't want to leave the arena. He couldn't breathe, you know, he couldn't swallow a BB. And he was just in shock that he lost that pot, you know, after flopping an ace and a king. Well, I'm wrong. See that? Just goes to show you.
We haven't been too good at the guessing game so far today, neither of us.
Yeah. He's going to have to get it in soon, but just holding on here. Yeah, there's a chance 2 players could clash. You could move up in prize money. that's what you're looking to do, then maybe it's okay to fold all the way around to the blind and after. Knowing these blinds are high and somebody could get broke where you could move up in a payday. But if you're looking to win the tournament, I think you have to just gamble it up somewhere when you're this short stacked. Try to get some chips, but we'll see what happens.
He'll be in the big blind next hand, and that's half his stack right there.
There's our man, Mr. Ang here, who started out in the short stack and now is the chip leader. Won every pot he's put chips in.
Sumida all in. That's not all of his chips. It's pretty close.
760 is what it's made of. 760,000.
Look at that. Just smiles all around.
Yeah. Taeyong has not disappointed today.
Tell you what, he's impressed me. Unfortunately, we can't see his cards now like we could before, but he made some moves before without having a hand. So it does make you wonder. Now, these guys have never seen a hand of his yet. Other than the first king queen where he doubled up the first pot he played of the night. It's the only hand he's showed down, and he's won pot after pot after pot.
The aggression works again. He gets Sumida to fold his button. Kevin Ong in his first WPT event.
Well, it's a perfect time to put pressure on a player here when you have more chips than them, because they know one guy's down to just a couple blinds.
That's right.
So nobody wants to go out when a guy has so few chips. So it's just a great time to put pressure on. They'll even fold a better hand than they might not otherwise fold, knowing they want that one guy with the short stack to go out first where they move up prize money before they start playing a little bit. So just a great opportunity there. Now, I'm not sure if that was Ang's thought process, but it could well have been. Well, here he goes. Go all in now for 175,000.
Looks like Sumida has a hand he's going to make this call with.
If you just call here, you invite the blinds to come into this pot. Now, if you want them in there where they can bust them out, you just call. If you want to shut them out where you can't get broke, where you're just playing up against the short stack, that's what many guys do, is raise in that spot. Sumida not doing it, just calling there.
Kevin Ong looks like he wants to enter this pot as well.
Well, blinds are 30 and 60,000. It's just 175,000 to play. So blinds are getting value here.
And he might try and blow Sumida out of this pot.
Yep.
Give himself some good pot odds on top of the opportunity to knock out Andrew Gao.
And that's what he's going to do, it looks like. Well, maybe not. No, he's finally just going to call. It was the bluff raise, but it was the call.
Looks like the all-in is 200,000 and not 175. So it's all-in with two calls. Gao with the opportunity to more than triple up.
And Olsen makes the call as well. So is this four-way action here?
Did Olsen call? Did he?
No, Olsen went out. Still four-way action.
Yep.
One man's all in. The other guys have chips, so they don't expose their cards, obviously. And that's what we call a dry side pot. There is no side pot, so no sense in bluffing here if you have nothing. It just doesn't make sense when you can knock a player out, or somebody else could knock him out.
Gao with an ace-5, so he's got some outs here, and he's facing the ace-king, I believe. Ace face card. It is an ace-king.
Well, the ace-king suited. I'm surprised he didn't re-raise before the flop of that hand.
Same.
Now the three of clubs comes off, giving him a flush draw as well, so the deuce of clubs won't win it.
Nope.
needs a deuce or a 5. That's not the deuce of clubs to stay alive.
Ace
Doesn't
will
happen.
not help.
Ace comes off. Ace is up with the king kicker, going to take down the pot.
Andrew Gow, our 6th place finisher today. He's taking home $31,370. He played a pretty good final table here, Mike, but he just didn't win his crucial flip.
No, lost the race. That was the key pot for him, obviously, and out in 6th place. But certainly played a fine tournament throughout the week.
We have 5 players. Next player to get eliminated is 1,725,000.
Samita now getting back towards the 30 big blind range. Getting himself a big glass of Red Bull. Maybe, maybe not. False alarm on the Red Bull, apparently.
It looks like Jeannie and Ivy wanted to grab it off that
Yeah.
tray.
It's our eyes wander.
Folded around to Mr. Ang on the button. He's been the most lively player at the table. Looks like he's getting out raising chips on the button, and that's what he's doing.
Never in doubt.
He's feeling it right now, Tony. The guy's won about every pot that he's played. Everything working for him. So a couple moves he made earlier, the Jack 7 and the King 4 that worked out beautifully, where he 3 and 4 bet those hands. Thought he misplayed quad 9s when he flopped 4 9s.
Definitely.
Leading out to bet. Not leading out, he check raised.
Yeah.
On the flop.
He check raised so small that it was really hard for him to be representing a draw of some kind. Moonfei Chow getting mixed up in one of his first pots for a while, been pretty quiet.
And he's also getting shorter stacked. You can see under $1 million. King 7-3 flop. Checked around to Ang, he bet.
Making a small probing bet here at this pot, 110,000 into $500,000.
It's just a great size bet. You know, bet sizing is so important in poker, and obviously small bets get the job done as well as moving in. You learn the same information by making a small bet with that kind of flop as you do a big bet. Whereas if you don't have anything and the guy moves in, you just jeopardize more chips by making a bigger bet. So love that bet size by Ang there.
Really leveraging his stack nicely right now, and as we saw before, he was taking advantage of Tsuchikawa when he raised on the button, and he came over the top while Andrew only had 2 or 3 blinds left, and forced him to lay down.
Yep. Perfect timing for that raise. Perfect bet size to take down that pot. And that smile just going to continue to grow if the pots keep going his way. He was smiling when he was short stacked, and he's certainly smiling now on the big stack. He seems like a happy-go-lucky player, doesn't he?
Very much so. Very creative player.
Like Tsuchikawa, who never seems to smile.
Nope.
He's raising it here to 125,000.
Again, we saw a very quick movement and action from him, and as we were saying before, that's been consistent with his hand strength, and if Ang right behind him recognizes that, he's in a prime position to just punish.
Folded around to Chow. Now on the short stack at this final table. He gives it up.
Tsuchikawa been pretty conservative so far. He won that big flip against Andrew, which crippled him and eventually led to being eliminated in 6th. But I think that if he's able to maintain his chips, we're going to see a lot of Ong trying to raise and re-raise him in position and steadily bleed Tsuchikawa, who seems very averse to put his chips in without a lot of confidence.
Well, Tony, one thing we saw in the Philippines this week was, I believe, the world's largest shot clock, or the largest screen.
Oh, man.
For, you know, that gave the data, the time and the limits and all that. It was like 15 by 15 feet.
We had Big Ben on the wall.
At least, maybe bigger than that even.
Gonna be 1 1/4 from our man Kevin here.
And that's been pretty much the standard bring-in bet. Well, any man that controls his chips like that, put some time in at the table. That much I can promise you.
Definitely.
That's a tell, as we say.
Looks like Tsuchikawa is going to play out of the big blind. No, it looks like he's going to re-raise it. There again, you see him acting very quickly.
Well, this time it's he that gets a 3-bet, Mr. Ang. So far, Ang has been able to 3-bet him most pots. Now the shoe's on the other foot. You can see Ang not liking it too much.
That is the first 3-bet we've seen from Tsuchikawa at this final table.
He does not make moves unless he's got a hand. And he's 3-betting it. He may make the first raise with a minimum hand, but I haven't seen him make a 3-bet all week without a hand.
Oh, he's going to let it go.
Well, Ang believes that as well. He's saying, come on in, where were you? So that gives you an idea how strong his hand was. You know, you just know at the table, Tony, don't you, that certain players just do not 3-bet without a hand.
That's right. Makes it so difficult to get actions on your good hand when you can never be bluffing in those situations.
Standing around Doyle Brunson and Daniel Negreanu. Daniel was telling Doyle, you get the aggressive players are 3, 4, 5 betting before the flop right now, et cetera, et cetera. That's what you got to do to stay afloat in today's game. And Doyle said, Daniel, he said, I want to make you a bet. I want to lay you 100 to 1 on it. Daniel said, what is it? He said, I want to make you a bet that if I 5-bet before the flop, he said that my opponent's going to outdraw me to win the hand, and I'm going to lay 100 to 1 on it. He said. So in other words, Doyle Brunson's not 5-betting without 2 aces.
Doyle's still playing some of those high stakes cash games around the Bellagio and around Las Vegas.
He plays in the biggest games in Vegas and has for the last 40 years. So incredible.
I know he's essentially retired from tournaments. He feels that the length of them is just a little too much for his durability right now.
Too demanding. Doyle in his 80s, of course, and you know it's tough to play those 10, 12, 14-hour days that you have to play, like at the World Series and some WPT events. These long sessions, day after day, and Doyle says he can go for about 8 hours a day every day, but even that's a little taxing sometimes for him. But he's still out there playing in the biggest game, so. The man is still doing it, inviting all the young guns to come join him.
Be a shame if he ever retired.
He's not retiring.
Yeah.
I asked him that once. Though I said, don't you have enough? When are you going to retire? He said, what am I going to do?
Exactly, you know. What are you, you know?
You know.
And what else are you going to be that competitive at in your 80s?
Yeah. So he still likes to play. These guys are enjoying playing right now as well. Samita's made it a min raise to 120. In a small blind. He's close to 3 million in chips. Samita with 1.2 million.
Looks to be stacking up his re-raising chips yet again.
I'll tell you, it's hard not to pull for this guy.
He's won my support.
He's bold, he's brave, he's fun to watch, he's calm, cool, and collected, he smiles all the time. You gotta like him. It's like a happy-go-lucky Gus Hansen.
Looks like he's going to go to 3 1/4 here out of the small blind. The relentless Kevin Ong.
Guess what we didn't expect to see at this final table was the 3-bet and pre-flops, and we're seeing it consistently, certainly by Ang.
Now, did you play with him much while you were 10-handed?
I didn't last long with him 10-handed, but I played with him before that.
Okay.
He didn't seem that aggressive at that time, for sure. He has changed gears, I can tell you.
Wonder if he made a conscious decision heading into this final table that everyone was going to be too risk averse and that he could take advantage.
Well, I believe that may be the case, and certainly it is true. You know, he saw how conservative everybody was getting to this final table.
That's right.
So maybe he thinks they're going to keep doing it that way, and obviously the best remedy for success at the poker table, if they're playing tight, you're supposed to play loose. If they're playing loose, you're supposed to play tight. Just the opposite of what most people are doing at the table supposedly reaps you the most success in the poker world. You believe that?
I definitely believe that. I believe that in many games outside of poker. You know, and I've been talking to you lately about how much daily fantasy sports that I've been playing. Of course, we have a partnership with DraftKings, and a lot of the art or science of the game is figuring out, okay, who are the players that everyone is going to be on, and which of those players are a good idea to fade this week so I'm not as exposed to them as the rest. And there are many, many games or industries where you don't really want to be with the herd all the time.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm sure in fantasy football, some people just take Peyton Manning every week automatically, probably, and you know, but the whole world's on him. So if he ever goes up against a strong pass defense, maybe you want to lay off him for a week.
Yep, happened in Seattle this year. Although that's been about the only team to really hold Peyton back. He's been pretty unstoppable again.
I can't imagine if you've been, I don't play fantasy football, but if you've been betting on Seattle players for fantasy football, you can't be doing too good this year, I wouldn't think.
No, not been a strong year for Seattle. They eked one out yesterday in Carolina.
Yeah, but very
Seems like
surprising. I really thought that this team might go undefeated this year after they looked so good in the Super Bowl last year.
Seems as though they have some turmoil in the locker room with the trade of Percy Harvin, and a lot of talk about trading Marshawn Lynch now, their stud running back. So,
well, I know the problem is when you win Super Bowls, everybody on the squad wants a bigger payday for the next year, and they want pay raises, and extended contracts, and as a general manager, you got to make choices. Somebody's got to go. And right now, Ang 3-betting again.
Tsuchikawa with a very quick call there.
Yeah, it's a quick call, and that's going to get Ang's attention, I can tell you, because this Tsuchikawa, he does not mess around. He's got a hand if he's in there playing a pot.
Put him on something like a ace-queen or maybe a king-queen suited, that kind of stuff. Maybe a mid-pair, something he's confident in but not confident enough to re-raise.
I think you could bracket it almost exactly at one of those 3 hands.
Yep. And that is not the kind of flop that he's looking for. A great flop for Ong to keep bluffing if he, in fact, does not have a strong hand.
Yeah, maybe an ace-10, ace-jack suited, ace-queen, possibly 2 5s, but you would think it'd be one of those hands to call a 3-bet where you wouldn't 4-bet it like you would with an ace-king or a big pair. So I didn't take a lot of time earlier. We're thinking he was going to fold, and then all of a sudden, bam, he raised it. Here, he's taking a while, but he is going to bet.
Looks to be 320 into this pot of 720.
If I'm not mistaken, these are the 2 chip leaders going at it here. So Ang knows to put pressure on this guy because he can't fade it unless he's got a big hand, and that's what he did, and he takes down the pot.
Ong has really found his mark at this final table.
It is, and I can tell you after what we saw in the first level when we could see his hold cards, we've come to appreciate this guy's play here for making some moves at this table to take advantage.
He's also got the advantage of momentum. He just seems to be winning every single hand that he plays, and it, you know, alters the way everyone around him at the final table is willing to play against him.
Well, everybody knows when you tangle with the chip leader, you can go broke. So That's not the guy you want to tangle with. Ang certainly knows that because he's taking advantage of his chip lead now. He is putting relentless pressure on these guys. Well, he opts to fold a hand. And here goes the Swede, moving all in. He's been real quiet this final table. As has Chow, but Chow's on a short stack and folds again. No defense against the all-in bet. You just have to pick up a hand, Tony.
Yeah. And so far, Douglas Olson has played a pretty solid game here today, but just doesn't seem to have enough hands or chips to get involved.
So lay down the 3-bet when he had the ace-3 of hearts, when he got 3-bet by the ace-deuce of spade, but he didn't know it, and I certainly don't blame him for folding that hand with his chip count. You just really don't feel good about yourself if you're walking out of the arena when your last hand that you played was an ace-3. Unless you were the one that moved in on it. You should never criticize yourself too much if you're the one doing the moving in.
Agreed.
Because you're trying to force the play, pick up the pots, make the action. If somebody has a hand, you're just
all
beating.
in and call.
Well, there you go.
Zamito with a pair of jacks. Olson with a ace-queen. So we have another coin flip.
Another race. Tuchikata won the last race when he won the ace-king against the 2-9s for a monster pot. Can he win another race? This time he has the underpair against the 2 overcards. So he's reversed positions. And a jack on the flop. 3 jacks.
All but ends Olson's day if he can't run a runner a straight.
Got to hit 2 runners to make a straight, as you said. You can see he's only got a 3% chance to do that.
And the 7 is going to end his tournament life.
You can't fault him for moving all in there with the ace-queen. Played it right, just got unlucky not to win the race. And both players that have essentially been eliminated have lost races, Tony.
That's right. Douglas Olson, 5th place finisher, going home with $39,212. But unfortunately, never really had a chance to play poker at this final table. He had Kevin on his right, entering almost every hand, and such a short stack that without something to come over the top, he was handcuffed. You got to think Evan's loving it to see Tsuchikawa keep piling up chips on his immediate right, and he's just thinking, great, I'll keep taking advantage of him.
And so far, he's taking advantage of everybody at the table, no doubt about it. He's the chip leader, but Tsuchikawa sitting in a strong second chip position right now. And here goes Chow moving all in.
Yep.
605,000.
Also down to 10 blinds.
Yeah, but enough chips to still put pressure on his opponents where they have to have a hand to go in. You know, you just don't want to give a guy another 500 and some thousand. And Ag doesn't want to do that. So my guess is for the next few plays that both of the 2 guys you see on screen right now, if they play a pot, it will be shipped all in pre-flop.
Everyone waiting to see whether Chow will be knocked out in 4th, as he is the short stack right now. And then we start to see some larger jumps up the pay ladder.
I'll tell you one thing, after playing with this guy a couple days, in case he doubles up, they're going to be in for it because the kid can play.
I'd like to see what he can do if he gets some chips in front of him.
Yeah.
But he's going to need a hand.
Right, 125 bet by Tsuchikawa, and he holds his breath every time because he's been 3-bet numerous times by Ang sitting behind him, but not this time.
Tsuchikawa takes down the blinds and antes with a button raise. Ooh, must have been something good. Doesn't want to let him go.
Yeah. Sometimes you just like to keep the same cards for the next hand, but not allowed.
Really? You want to keep that?
Now, Mike, you got an early morning flight tomorrow?
Yeah, about a midday flight.
Midday flight.
Going out of here. They got me flying through Korea to go back to the States. Seoul, a beautiful airport, I might add.
What an airport.
But you're off to China, or no, you're off to
St. Martin in a
St.
few
Martin
days. I'll
next,
be
yeah.
staying over in Las Vegas, actually. My friend, the popular poker player Andrew Lichtenberger, a.k.a. Lucky Chewy,
Yeah.
is selling the house that he has there, in which I lived in for 3 or 4 years. So I've got to pack up all my things and
Oh, you got to move out.
getting rid of everything.
Where's Andy moving to?
He is moving to Austin, Texas, where he is building a clean living compound of sorts. So I believe they're prioritizing yoga, martial arts,
Really?
juicing,
All right, well, good for him.
conscious living, and free love for all, that kind of stuff.
Free love for all. Well,
And I think it,
interesting. To be young again.
yeah, seems like a lot of young poker players have kind of thrown in the towel on Las Vegas. Certainly Black Friday knocked many of them out, and then in the years following, they continued dwindling. And Chewy's house is one of the last big spots in Vegas I knew that was full of poker players, and it's pretty depleted now.
Yeah. For years and years, Las Vegas was the poker capital. Many players moved to. Then LA became a poker capital, obviously, and but as you said, most all upcoming young players, sort of chewed their teeth on online poker, and that's where they became really good players. And unfortunately, it doesn't really exist much in the States anymore.
No, we do have Party Poker New Jersey, and a few sites operating in Delaware and Nevada.
In Nevada, but the games aren't very big, and in Nevada I'm speaking about, which is why players aren't crazy about it. You think, having an online poker room is like a big regular poker room in that when somebody comes to a site, you want to see games, a lot of games to choose from to play in. You want to see a lot of players, and with limited participation as just state by state is the way it's authorized now for online gaming in the U.S. And eventually we got to get more states involved, and then they got to have a pact where they can play with each other, and that is going to be the future. And it's just not going to be much farther, I don't think, Tony.
No.
A couple years down the road, I hear Pennsylvania's getting close, West Virginia's getting close, California may be getting close. If those states come on board, other states will be recognizing the money that they're missing out on, and they'll come on board, and then they get a pact where they can all play together, where it's legal in those states to combine, where you'll have a lot of games and a lot of big tournaments. That would be great for everybody.
Hopefully that's only a few years on the horizon. It's been rather slow in development so far, but that's bureaucracy. And unfortunately, until those states legalize online poker, it doesn't have much room for growth in the United States.
Well, certainly we're seeing the World Poker Tour expand globally, and poker is certainly taking off around the world, and now Asia looks like to be the next major poker market for sure. And we're getting a glimpse of that here in Manila this week. 375 players in the main event for the first ever WPT championship event.
Chow gets a walk with a pair of 8s. Not happy about that.
I heard our upcoming event in Sanya, China has already got over 1,200 players signed up already.
Whoa!
For that tournament there, so big doings in Asia right now.
I was hoping to make my way out to Sanya for that event, but it's slightly overlapped with St. Martin and didn't quite fit.
Look, you got to go defend your title,
That's
my friend.
Right. Yep.
I'm a firm believer in if you're lucky enough to win a tournament, you should go back and defend your title.
Ichikawa opening the action here with a quick raise.
Did they pay for the defending champion's entry fee, or do you have to pay it yourself, Tony?
I believe I have to pay it myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that would be something. If I was a casino, I would pay the defending champion's entry fee to make sure they came back the next year.
Maybe I'll send them an email, see if I can twist their arm.
Just trying to help you out here, Lou.
Appreciate it. You've been talking to the casinos for longer than I have. It's, still as an online player, although I played plenty of live tournaments, over the years. You know, normally it's just kind of an in and out thing as an online player. You drop in, play the tournament, and then you either fly out or you go back to online poker, or in some cases, depending where you were, you just go out and drink and experience the place. But now it's gotten to the business side of things and really starting to meet some of the people behind the scenes, which has actually been great. I really, I think these days I'm as interested on what's happening behind the scenes in poker as I am in what's happening on the felt.
A walk right there. Chuchikawa, he's all smiles, happy to pick it up. Now, Tony, when you get a walk, do you look at your cards, or are you just happy to take the pot right there?
I do like to look at them,
You like to look at them. But when you pick up a big hand, then aren't you aggravated nobody played?
Nah. I just, I accept that big hand could have just as easily been 7-2 offsuit, and I'm happy to get the walk either way. And
all right.
I
So
just
why look though?
I like looking at pretty cards. I look down at a pair of kings, and I'm like, ooh, those are attractive. Ever like to look?
No, I'm just happy to get the walk. All right, Chow, moving all in here.
Samita has a decision behind him.
Yeah, Samita, as you can see, they're the two short stacks by a long ways.
Doesn't seem to love the situation. He'll let it go. Tsujikawa now.
One peek at a time here. Now Ang's going to look, see if he has anything. Anything close to an ace high, we'll get him a call for sure. It doesn't happen. So he's out as well.
Just staying alive.
You're the short stack, believe me, you're happy to pick up blinds and antes. Even if you have a decent hand. If you have a great hand, you want action to try to double up, but any kind of moderate hand, you're just happy to pick up a pot and stack more chips. You can see Samata and Chow have about the same amount of chips.
An $18,000 difference between fourth and third.
Don't even get used to the money, the value of the money over here yet. Since you've been in the Philippines, I mean, you walk around, they give you 50,000, 100,000, 80,000. You feel like you got money around here, but
it goes pretty far too.
Yeah.
Goes pretty far around here. Taking cab rides, 20-minute cab rides, when you do the conversion, $4.
Yeah. They paid me off in 10th place, 500 and some thousand they gave me. I thought, hey man, I got something here,
We did it. And then it worked out to about what, 10,000 or something like that, 10, 12,000.
All I know is it's 88,000 for 2,000. That's what I know. 2,000 US gets you 88,000 pesos here.
Gotcha.
So that's the conversion rate.
It's
I know that because I bought into one cash game for 2,000. I got 88,000 pesos. So that's the conversion rate.
Have you been playing the cash games much while you're
I
here?
only played once. I
Okay.
only played once, just a little Omaha, pot limit Omaha. After I got broke out of day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I played the tournament all the rest of the way, so didn't have a chance to play much more than that.
How was the game?
The game was pretty tight, honestly. And, normally in pot limit Omaha, you expect 3, 4, 5-way action before the flop, and it just wasn't happening here. And, I know they play rather solid hold'em, but I thought Omaha might be a different case, but it wasn't. Fairly solid game, but still fun to play a little something once in a while different than hold'em. I like PLO, so.
Be quiet, please.
PLO has really become the cash game of preference for live poker lately in the United States, especially on the East Coast. You can hardly find a hold'em game anymore above 510, maybe 1020, but especially, it seems like 510 is kind of capped off hold'em in many places.
Yeah, well, hold'em, is the game that, I play in some games where they play around the hold'em and around the Omaha. And generally, the Omaha dwarfs the hold'em in terms of pot size. So it usually doesn't work out that way. If you play straight hold'em, it's fine. Or straight Omaha, it's fine. But when you mix them up, it just seems like you're just bored when the hold'em gets there, and you're just hoping it gets over with so you get back to the Omaha where you get bigger pots.
Kevin here going to raise it up.
Ang definitely the table captain here. Also the nice chip leader. Takes down another one by just raising pre-flop.
Players trading small pots back and forth.
Blinds and antes have 260,000 in them, don't they? Let's see. 10, 90. Oh, that was with his raise that had that. But
Just same exact
130,000, I guess you pick up.
Okay.
And you pick up blinds and antes.
Yellow. Let's see. See? Exactly same.
And these guys are measuring each other's stacks over here. They have just about the same amount of chips, as you can see. Just over 700,000 apiece.
Action with Sumida on the button. He's going for it.
About 12 big blinds. I think you have to ship it if you play a pot. You just don't have enough to raise and then give up a hand.
And on. He's been acting quick lately when he's facing these all-ins. No more posturing, so I'm guessing he has something legitimate to think about.
I saw him one guy raised, another guy re-raised, and he had a king-8 offsuit. No chance he was ever going to play the hand. It just seemed like it took such a long time before he mucked it out of the blind, which didn't make any sense at all to me.
That was strange. Because otherwise, he's been very forthright.
And he knows he can afford to make this call, but you hate to double up a guy who's a tight player like Sumida. Sumida, how do you pronounce that?
I think it's Sumida. Got the I.
I'll call him Scarf.
Yeah, Scarf.
The guy that wore the scarf at the World Series of Poker became the 2014 World Series Player of the Year, I might add.
Danzer. George Danzer, right?
George Danzer. I was at his table when he won the 8 or better stud, I believe it was, at the World Series this year, and certainly had a fantastic World Series. And went down to Australia, won another tournament to seal the deal.
The Germans are dominating the higher stakes poker tournaments lately. We see them all over the Alpha 8 Tour and the high rollers across the globe. As many players know, there's, essentially a contingent of young German players who both fund themselves and fund many other players in those high rollers and have done very well for themselves.
Yep, extremely talented players, all of them. The problem is they're killing the high roller events now.
Yeah.
Because they're taking out all the money. Now there's the A.
There's the triangle.
Now we haven't seen the triangle yet, folks, but I can tell you somebody goes all in, they throw a triangle button in front of them, and you see those players make that little triangle signal. That means they're all in. And it's fun to make the triangle. I did it a few times myself, and I enjoyed it.
I think we might see a few more triangles from Kevin before the day is over. Mike, have you had a chance to experience some of the great restaurants here at Solaire?
I have. I've been at the strip place several times this week. It's a steakhouse here at Solaire. Tremendous. That was good, and room service is good here.
Yes, it is.
Which I enjoyed that a lot as well. So, no complaints about the food here.
I've been to the Italian restaurant twice. The name is escaping me, but it was really good both times.
Someone recommended that to me as well.
Even the kind of noodle shop place, which is a little more quick. And we have another triangle from Kevin. The noodle shop has been very good as well.
Both the blinds are the 2 short stacks, so really he's given the triangle for the all-in, but he's only committing about 750,000 of his chips. And the triangle gets it done again. The all-in bet, taking it down for Mr. Ang.
Now, have you gone and played or even attended the event in Sanya before?
I have not. I wasn't able to go there last year. Not able to go this year as well. I'll be heading down to Jacksonville for our event there. And can't make it to Sanya, but I'm like you. I would love to attend that event one year.
Yeah.
Because last year they told me the chips were flying all around the whole place. You know, it was days back in the 90s I was in Paris when they took up poker in Paris and No Limit Hold'em, and it was tappy, 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 tappy.
Yep.
All in all the time. And it was such fun to play there, but wow, you took so many beats there. But it was fun, and the French players don't play like that anymore, I might add.
No.
They've become quite good as well, but back in the day, when you get to a country when they first start out poker, I can tell you, it's worth being around there, and I'm sure being in China right now is one of those places.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors about the cash games that are difficult to believe, but they seem to come from credible sources, so I think that if you're willing to spend some time in China and have access to the games, it would be very much worth your time. Chow here, first to act.
Here he goes.
They're all in.
He'll take the blinds and antes. So the short stacks trading all ins along with Kevin, and at this point it just seems like Tsuchikawa is the only one bleeding chips.
Am I more than you? Sure. Okay.
I see the short stacks when they play a pot, they go all in. There's the beautiful Jeannie and Ivy. Two of our Royal Flush girls that, let me add, are excellent Royal Flush girls. Very friendly, very smart. Always smiling. Players love them. I think they do a terrific job.
Two of our most popular Royal Flush girls too.
They've had a big week here, as we. And I must say, Tony, we've been to a lot of events, a lot of venues, and a lot of places. But I don't believe we've had a better players' party than we've ever had, than we had here at Solaire.
I doubt it, and I know I had a good time, so I'm going to go ahead and agree with that one. But man, they really stacked the deck in that place.
Now, folks, when Tony's talking about stacking the deck, they actually brought in 50 girls
Yes,
to mingle with the players.
that's right.
And we've never seen that before at any venue.
No, you don't get that kind of thing in the U.S. Not at all.
Definitely a
No.
plus side
Yeah.
for this event.
Live music, DJs, unlimited alcohol.
And not only live music, they continued to change from live music to
Yep.
the top disc jockey in the Philippines to different talents on the stage, and an MC that was terrific. All the girls that mingled,
Yep.
the dancing, the free drinks. Really a terrific, and I've never seen so many players at a players party.
Yeah,
I might
that
add
too.
either.
Yeah, they caught wind of what was going on.
Yeah. So you got to tip the hat to the Solaire people for all they've done to make this an outstanding WPT event, and a special little gold star for the players party.
Now over to Samita in the small blind. He's going to
There's
make a
the-
triangle.
The triangle for the all-in symbol.
Tsuchikawa with the decision.
Looks like he's got the call look in his eye to me.
I think we just heard the bell for the end of the level, so this will be it at 30-60. And perhaps we'll have one more dramatic hand to finish the level. While Samita goes to sleep.
It's the battle of the blind, and certainly the small blind doesn't necessarily have to have a hand. He just assumes only one player he's got to get by will not pick up a big hand and can't call him. But many times in the small blind with a guy this stack size just ships it and just wins the pot.
We've gone so long without seeing anyone table their cards. I'm hoping he makes the call, but no.
He does not call.
Makes a 1 card at a time fold. Sumida lives to fight another day.
I think if he has much as a king-9, he would play right there in that spot.
I certainly would. I'm not sure Tsuchikawa would, because he's been very cautious so far.
Tama yung button pin, no? Is it? No, I'm very tired.
That would have been fun to see what he had, just to see if we could have disagreed whether he should have played the pot or not.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. What did he fold there?
Chalk one up to the scarf. It'd also be fun to see what the scarf moved in on. Because we said out of small blind, he can move in with any 2 cards in that spot. Just hoping your opponent doesn't pick up a hand where you win the blinds and antes, which you need as a short stack.
You want break? Okay. Pass the ship. Then you go break.
48. 10 hands. Kicking it up.
Now with Chow, the blinds have gone up. We are playing 40,000, 80,000 with a 10K ante.
20 only, 10 more.
2 of our final 4 players from Japan.
1 more.
Chow is moving all in.
Player Salin. Fold.
Chow just said all in every time. He hadn't used the triangle yet. Almost all the players over here love the triangle.
Fold.
And he picks up yet another pot by going all in. So the short stacks picking up a little chips here and there by moving all in. So their stack size not going down as you like short stacks to go. Usually they blind themselves out. But these guys are shipping it to pick up their share of blinds and antes to maintain their stack size.
The Chow definitely seems the most willing to put himself at risk while he is the short stack.
Action on you, sir.
Meet out.
So again, the battle of the blinds.
Ooh, a little
Wow.
surprising not to see the triangle from Hong.
That is surprising there that he wouldn't raise.
Must have been a
Just
very
chip
bad
lead.
hand. Can't imagine you have too much time at home before you have to fly off to Jacksonville. That event's coming up on the horizon.
Yeah, well, I've got about 4 or 5 days. Probably taking off down to Florida. Looking forward to going to the Best Bet Casino down there. Great event they put on. That's a great poker palace, I think. TVs all around the place.
Yep.
Space between tables. A fantastic staff that runs the tournament.
Action on you, sir.
By Casino.
Good cash games, too.
Director of Poker Operation, Deborah Giardina, and it's just great to be down there. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm actually one of the bounties in the tournament. They're having a bounty tournament
I
this
heard,
year
yes.
for the WPT event, so it should be fun to play in, and I'll have a bullseye on my chest, but happy to be a bounty.
How much will the bounty be if someone knocks you out?
You know, it's a good question, but if I had to guess, I'd guess 1,500.
Okay.
But it's just a guess, folks.
All
Don't
right.
hold me to it. Don't Twitter me. Don't chastise me. I don't know how much it is, but it's something.
Is it a 5K event this time or 3,500?
So, and that's another good question.
Okay.
I think it's 5K, but I'm not sure. Might be 3,500. Look it up for us.
I will. Check it out.
We want to give the people the facts here. See, and if I was a regular on the live stream, I would have this information in front of me, but I'm just a guest host with
Well,
you.
that's-
I'm just a guest here. This is your show,
This
Tony.
I should know these things.
Yeah, this is your show here. Don't put that on me.
I know when St. Martin is because I have to be at that one.
Yeah.
Jacksonville I'm missing, so
All
I'm
right.
oblivious.
All right.
I can tell you that St. Martin will be, I believe, the 2nd through the 8th, or the 3rd. Sorry, the 3rd through the 8th in St. Martin, just north of South America. It's pretty far down there, but man, beautiful resort.
It's the most beautiful beaches that I've seen
All in, sir.
in an island,
Player
in St.
side.
Martin. Okay, in the meantime, Samita moving all in. A snap call.
Oh,
By Tsuchikawa. All right. Again, it's a race situation. 2 8s versus the 2 overcards. Samita on his feet, knows he must win this spot to stay alive. Has the king 9 of clubs. And it comes 10-10-4. Samita needs help to stay alive. No jack. That gives him a straight draw. So he needs a king, a queen, or a 9.
Or a jack.
Or a jack
Yep.
is right. Doesn't happen as the 4 comes off. Samita going to be our 4th place finisher.
Gonna get 52,283 for his efforts here.
What's
That's
been interesting here at this final table is Chow has been a race against the 3 players that have been eliminated. He's won all 3 races against those 3 players.
Yep.
How many races in a row can you win, Tony? Doesn't it seem like every time you get in a race for all your chips, you're out the door when you play a tournament?
It really does feel that. And it feels like the only reason I ever, got deep in an event because it was my turn to win the flips,
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to deal?
But it just seems that when you're all in for your tournament life in a race, you don't win them. I know you do sometimes, but it just doesn't seem like you do.
No, it doesn't.
Sure. Red bottom.
Well, there's no doubt who's winning the races today. Chow is 3 for 3. Busted all 3 players. Now one of them had a few more chips than him and didn't quite go out. He had a few blinds left, but the other 2, he's knocked out winning the race.
Well,
Definitely, he's the race king, and with it, he's the chip leader now.
continue to improve for Kevin Ong, who's going to be in a great position to take advantage of Tsuchikawa's hesitance. We'll see whether Chow can run up his stack, which is hanging right around 1 million for the moment.
Sure, Andy. 10.
I think it may be a more dynamic heads-up match if we saw Chow face off versus Kevin Ong. Whereas I feel that if someone gets heads up with Tsuchikawa, they'll probably take an approach of bleeding him away.
Yeah, Chow just has a stack size. He just can't really play poker right now. You can't make moves when you don't have chips. That's the luxury of building up your chip stack where you can make plays and win pots without hands. You just can't do it when you're short stacked.
Let that one go after initially reaching for chips on the button.
And again, Chow gets a walk. Not often you see the short stack get walks, folks.
No, not at all.
We've seen it happen twice to Chow now when he's on the short stack here. And that is a luxury that you just really enjoy if you're short stack because it just doesn't come up often.
Now we can't
Usually
see,
big stacks punish you when you're a small stack, and they don't let you get free cards and free pots.
we can't see Kevin's cards, but I almost wonder if he's a little hesitant to risk doubling up Chow because he feels he's in such a good position that you just keep bleeding Tsuchikawa so long as Chow never gets a hold of any chips.
Now even Tsuchikawa is going to give him a little problem because he's got a lot of chips now himself. So
10 more.
the dynamics has changed at this final table, and it looks like Ang has just changed gears again. He came out firing, making moves in this final table started, went from a short stack to the chip leader.
Push your chips.
Now Chow moving all in the small blind. And going to win the pot.
Yep. Like you said at the start of the broadcast, Mike, Chow really seems like the most experienced, the most comfortable player at this final table. His decisions are very quick, very confident.
Yeah, I played with all these players that are left in this tournament at least one day getting to this final table. And without a doubt, I thought the best player that I'd seen was this little Chow guy.
Been playing for 5 years now. He says if he wins the tournament, he's just going to use it to boost his bankroll. Doesn't have any superstitions. Just wants to keep playing. And that his greatest poker accomplishment is making this final table.
I think you're going to see more confidence out of this kid
I agree.
before the smoke clears. He's definitely got a talent for the game and really understands where he's at, it seems like at all times. Who to take advantage of, who not to take advantage of. In case he doubles up, these guys will have their hands full.
Tsuchikawa calling out of the small blind.
It's the first time we've seen the limp out of the small blind so far at this final table. See if Ang will take a free flop. The vast majority of the time, a guy limps in. You know, he's got the 7-8, the 7-9, the Queen-9. Maybe not even that good, but looking to see a cheap flop.
Call.
Every once in a while, they trap with the big hands in hopes that you raise where they can play back.
Heads up.
Tsuchikawa does call the raise, though. The flop comes 4-4 deuce, 2 hearts.
Check, sir.
This should be an absolute automatic bet by Ang. You're just never going to put your opponent on 2 small cards like those.
This is a check.
You're not going to put him on a pair because he didn't raise before the flop.
Check.
I'd just be shocked if Ang checks this.
Yeah, especially after a very emphatic check from Tsuchikawa.
I mean, it's an impossible check in
I'll
my
check.
mind. But he does check. I just can't imagine how you can check here.
Keeps mystifying us.
Check.
Yeah, now.
Unless he's got a really strong hand, I just can't imagine how you can check the flop there.
Kevin cutting out some raising chips. Well, betting, I guess.
Yeah. Tsuchikawa's check to him. Notice they're pretty close in chip count, though, right now. Really a dead heat here. And we saw Ang making all his moves when he had a lot more chips than Tsuchikawa. That's not the case anymore. But he is going to bet here, I'm certain of it.
He's fired out nearly 300,000
Yeah.
in a very, very quick fold, as we
Picked
suspected.
this spot up earlier had he bet the flop, but because we can't see his cards, there's an outside chance he could have had a monster hand there. I'm talking about aces, kings, 4 in his hand.
Well, Mike, we were talking about the schedule before, so to be official, WPT Caribbean at
Please
Casino Royale, November
tell our
3rd through
viewers
7th.
the exact dates
exact
and times
dates.
so they can be on schedule.
The best bet down in Jacksonville. That's going to be November 7th through 11th. And then you're going to the United Kingdom for the Party Poker WPT 500 at dusk till dawn. That's November 9th through 16th.
I think that's going to be a mega event. Let me add that.
And I will actually be going to South Africa around that time, following St. Martin. That's
I went down for that tournament last year. Had a good time down there.
WPT Emperor's Palace Poker Classic, November 14th through 16th. And I'm not sure if you're going. Are you going to the Party Poker Dusk Till Dawn event, or are you going to Party Poker WPT UK? Because that always also goes on.
I'm going to both.
You're going to both, so you'll be there for both. That goes on 18th through the 23rd. And then our final event in November is Party Poker WPT Montreal, November 20th through 26th, up at Kanawaki.
I'll get to Montreal before the final table, obviously, because we're doing that as a televised event. But unfortunately, because of scheduling, I won't be able to play it this time. But I'll still be in the house for all the big-time action.
I'll tell you, Montreal just might be my favorite stop on the tour every year. It's just such a great combination of a beautiful city.
It is a beautiful city.
You know, great host of people, awesome card rooms, so much to do around that city, great restaurants, good nightlife. And there's so many of the pros and recreational players all come out together and just enjoy themselves. We even have a pretty good player party there.
Yeah, it's a big event, which means big prize money.
We were very surprised at how big it got 2 years ago, and it was scheduled along Thanksgiving. We were talking about, maybe we'll get 500. We got something like 11 or 1,200. Just blew up.
Scheduled about then again. In fact, the day before Thanksgiving is the final table.
Here's our updated chip counts. Fidge House still our short stack, a little beneath 1.2 million. Ong, 700,000 in front of Tsuchikawa.
You got to tip your hat to Kevin Ang. I'll tell you the truth. He started this final table with just 425,000 in chips in dead last place by a pretty good ways.
all in behind the first hand and never look back.
But he was making moves on the short stack.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was a giant chip leader when he was making those moves with the king fours and the jack sevens.
Hold.
So give him credit for earning those chips. And he has taken care of them since he's gotten them. Just continuing to have his stack grow.
Call.
Tsuchikawa making another call out of the small blind. We'll see if Fong tries to take advantage again.
And he raised last time. The guy limped in. When you raise a guy a time or two after he limps in the small blind, you get leery that next time he might be limping with a strong hand. But Ang doesn't seem to be worried about it. He's going to raise him again. I tell you, you limp in against this guy, you're going to get punished. That's going to be the same scenario. Last time he limped in, he called the raise pre-flop. Looks like he's going to do the same again. And he is.
So history repeating itself as we go to the flop.
It's not a light raise either, to 230,000. Ace, jack, 8, 2 hearts. Now, that's another case that if you raise pre-flop and your opponent didn't raise and just called, real good chance he's not going to have an ace in his hand, so you're going to bet this flop no matter what you have. I think even if you have a set here, you have to bet here with the possible flush and straight possibilities that exist out there.
Agreed.
Tsuchikawa just staring away, not looking at his opponent. Just wondering if he's hoping the guy's going to bet or hoping he's going to check. Ang is definitely going to bet.
Tsuchikawa gives a weak smile.
Wanted 40.
That's
Oh.
a check raise.
Boom.
He was looking away like he wasn't interested. It was a false tell right there.
That's right. That's exactly what it was, Mike.
And this will get Ang's attention.
300.
I just have not seen this guy check raise or raise 3-bet without a hand.
Call.
Now you wonder if he's on a draw or if he's got a hand. Meaning, does he have something like 9, 10 of hearts where you don't really want to play against that hand anyway? I don't think you put him on an ace, though. If it is an ace, it would be a weak ace, but the guy limps in out of the small blind, doesn't re-raise. You're just not going to put him on a big ace. Not going to happen.
Doesn't seem like the kind of player who would check raise with a big draw, even if he had, hearts with a straight draw. He seems more apt to check call with his playing style.
Outside possibility, he's got 2 pair.
Yep. I think he could definitely have a hand like that. Jack 8, ace 8.
Yep, for sure.
Now he's pretending to be asleep.
Yeah,
This is all very strange.
yeah, but he's just hoping to hear the words triangle, the symbol, the all-in bet. He's definitely going with this hand if he gets raised.
Hung.
Well,
Doesn't look like he's going to go away yet.
nope, he's going to make the call here. He does make the call, so we have a big pot brewing right now between the 2 chip leaders. I think Chow would like to see more than these 2 guys get it all in right here.
I have a sense that Tsuchikawa is probably going to make a very big bet on this turn.
Well, a 9 comes off. And believe it or not, you are fearful that the guy could have Queen 10 here. Not the player that would give that kind of hand up.
In the event he does.
Even after it got raised.
Yeah. In the event he does have 2 pair, it wouldn't shock me to just see him ram it all in. You see his hand shaking there as he reaches for chips. It looks like he's betting around 700,000.
As you indicated before, when a guy's trembling like that, he's got a big hand.
775.
Eyes flipping to his chips. Definitely one of those hands I really wish we could see their hole cards.
Yeah, what could he possibly have where he could just call here, Tony? Is there a hand? Would he have a heart draw? Would he just call with it? Does he have a weak ace? Would he just call with it? I'm not sure he would against this guy.
No, I think he
I
let go of
wouldn't.
an ace.
Yeah.
That might have been what happened there. He let go of some kind of medium ace or.
Tuchikawa taking that pot down. And with it, he takes over the chip lead.
Massage?
So for the first time in a long time, we have a new chip leader at this final table. So nearly 4 million now for Tuchikawa. Ang with 3 million. Chow with 1.1 million. Chow just talking to himself, saying, just let me double up one time. Maybe we'll see a new boss at the table.
Action on you, sir.
I never playing I never tell her. Because the video.
Tuchikawa says, I never tell what I have. Ang trying to pry the information out of him. Just going to leave Ang wondering. And another walk for Chow. Just incredible. We've seen at least 3, maybe 4 walks for this guy who's on the short stack at this table. That is something you just don't see.
No. So surprising. Especially coming from Ang. He just doesn't seem to want to give up many hands, but showing Chow some serious respect.
No, it's not like you have to move all in against the guy. $150,000 bet will serve the same purpose for you. Because the guy on a short stack is just not going to call essentially in that spot. He's going to move in if he's got a hand or fold if he doesn't. Most of the time, obviously, he's not going to have a hand. So why wouldn't you make a min raise there? Or some type of raise just to test the waters. Just shocked they give this guy walks time and time again. And he's going to make a button raise here. Blinds are 40 and 80,000. $165,000 the bet. And a quick call here.
Yeah.
By Tuchikawa. He's not one of those guys that stalls. If he's got a hand, he wants to see a flop, he gets his money out there quick.
Yep.
Unlike Ang. Flop 9-6-3. Tuchikawa checks. What you're going to do whether you have a hand or not against this guy. If you don't have a hand, you're going to fold. But if you have a hand, you're going to check and let him bet, where you can earn some money. And here comes the continuation bet by Ang.
135.
I just like Ang's bet sizing. I give him credit for that. 135,000 is bet. Remember, he bet 165,000 pre-flop and got called.
Yep.
So it's not a big bet, but it's enough to get the job done. So that's a lesson for everybody watching to recognize you don't have to make big bets after the flop to get the same information. Where you don't jeopardize chips, you don't have to.
So I'm successfully bet 110,000 into $500,000 before against 2 players and get 2 folds. So Kevin clearly thinking about the spots where you can bet small and get the same advantage that a large bet would create.
It's just the proper way to play. It's just well done by him. It's a mistake a lot of amateurs make.
Yep.
Where they'll make a bigger bet and the guy will raise them, they throw their hand away when they didn't have to give away those extra chips because they could have got the same information from a smaller size bet. And then I know you're young school and I'm old school, but Phil Hellmuth makes the best bet sizing of just about anybody in poker, I think.
For the first time today, I'll disagree.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
It's okay to disagree.
Check. Head.
But he makes a lot of smallish bets and wins a lot of pots by doing it.
Yes, he does.
So why do you disagree?
Because Phil Hellmuth also makes some really absurd and I don't know if inappropriate is the word, but ineffective bets at times. And I also think the math or fundamentals in his game is lacking, and that's been demonstrated in numerous televised poker tournaments, cash games, etc. And I also just think that you know, there's just guys out there who are, you know, even if not knocking on Phil, you know, I don't think he's a bad player or anything like that, of course. But there are going to be some guys out there who are just sharper at no limit hold'em these days than Phil is. You know, I'm sure that probably some of those Germans we were talking about before would have more nuance than somebody who really jumps out to me would be Scott Seaver, who tweaks his bet sizing a whole lot but seems to get it just right to force his opponent into doing what he wants. Dan Smith would be another guy who, when I talk hands with him, is talking about he made this huge overbet, or he was using these really small bets, or he always has, you know, these really intricate reasons for the way he sized it this way and that way. So I'd probably give the edge to some of those new age players before I would Phil Hellmuth.
Well, certainly Scott Seaver and Dan Hollis-Smith,
Yep.
two of the best in the world, no doubt about it. But
Yep.
you are another young gun that doesn't believe in Phil Hellmuth.
Yeah, well, I believe in Phil Hellmuth. I just think that a couple of those guys have surpassed him these days. You know, he's let's see, Phil still plays, but doesn't quite play with the volume that they do and the intensity that they do. But Phil, you know, he's really tough and competitive these days still, definitely. What's he been up to lately? We haven't heard from Phil in a little while.
Well, he just travels around, tweets about his life, who he hangs out with all the time.
Yes.
He hangs around with some big-time people.
That's right.
Enjoying life, but on the plus side for Phil, he does a lot of MC-ing his charity events and raises a lot of money for good causes.
Yeah, he's been very prolific at the charity tournaments.
You know, and we'll certainly let you know that he's still the all-time bracelet leader at the
He
World
will
Series
let you know that. Although Phil Ivey is really giving chase these days.
Well, he's giving chase, but you know, and we'll catch him eventually, probably, but be a few years down the road.
Yes, I agree. Phil encountering strange times of his own these days.
Indeed he is. Okay, here we go. 235,000 bet by Ang, raised by Tuchikawa on the river. Any chance Ang can call this bet?
He's going to need to have at least a 10, but
well, wasn't much action at all.
Check
None until
raise.
the river. And it's like Tuchikawa. Uh-oh, look at this. You got to be kidding me.
I think it's a
He
10
does make
minimum.
the call.
Let's see what Tsuchikawa's hand. He would have, what, maybe
He's got 3 10s for sure. What is his hand? Can we see the cards? It's a 10-7.
I think it's a 10-7 of diamonds there. Yeah.
So he did have the 3 10s and got paid off, but that seemed like an obvious 3 10s minimum hand to me.
I agree.
Checked on the flop, checked on the turn, raised on the river, all of a sudden out of the clear blue sky.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't raise and make moves. He had no money invested in this pot. I think that's a little pothole that Ang didn't have to fall in there.
And assuming that Ang was calling with an ace for a chop, he can really only hope for a chop pot at that point, and it's just so improbable that Tsuchikawa is bluffing in any capacity or raising an ace himself. So
all Ang could beat was a stone bluff there.
yeah, he's got to get away.
It just doesn't make sense for this guy who didn't have any money invested in the pot to check raise on the river without a hand there. Especially him, who we haven't seen make one move. And I played with him a couple days. I never saw him make one move at the table without a hand. That doesn't mean he won't do it when it's short-handed, but you know, he's got to show me
Agreed.
one time that he makes a move before I believe he does it. You know, you have to believe what you see as a poker player until they show you different. You know, like I think you should always assume everybody at the table is a good player until they prove otherwise. When they turn up a hand that you see they misplayed or made a bad call on or a bad bet on or, you know, something, now you reevaluate that guy's play, but you have to give him credit until that happens, I think.
Oh, yeah.
There goes
Chow's
Chow
moving
all
all in.
assure you, Chow wants to double up. Because I think he knows how good this kid is. You're better off just let him keep in the short stack as a hibernating bear right now. Not let him come out to the woods to hunt. $1.15 million all in. Chow with $4.3 million in chips, the chip leader. But you have to recognize how tough it'll be if you double this kid up. Take $1 million off your stack, add $1 million to his. He knows that he's going to muck his hand, and Chow going to take it down.
Chow did an excellent job of just hanging around. And
you know, it's something you don't see often, that the short stack guy is the guy that seems to be the most feared player at the table.
Yeah.
But that's the case. The two guys, when they had chips and he was short stacked, they let him have 3 or 4 limps. I mean, ground skinners, they just gave him the pot before the flop, not raising him. Every time he's raised it, they muck their hand. They just don't want to mess with this kid.
What's been very strange is we saw so much aggression from Kevin Ong earlier, and even with very bad hands, and it seemed like he very much pulled off the throttle against Tsuchikawa for a while. And it makes you wonder, well, if he's re-raising him already with the Jack sevens and ace rags and stuff like that, when he had the chip lead, what was he getting dealt that he just didn't want to screw around?
It sure appears like he's changed gears. Now it looks like he's just trying to hang on and wants to play heads up for the title, you know, since he's gotten there. All right, now here's Chow with a few chips. Let's see what he wants to do with them.
Starting to reach a stack depth where it's no longer just an all-in or fold situation pre-flop. He's up to about 17 blinds.
He can actually make a move here without moving all in now. It looks like that's what he's going to do.
Great.
What's the number you put it on, Tony, where you don't move all in and you now make a moderate size raise?
It's going to be right around his stack if I'm from the small blind. Although, you know, I think I would alter it against someone like Tsuchikawa more than other players. You know, if I was playing another online guy who's very accustomed to playing the all-in or fold game, my stack might be a little bit bigger when I just go all in, so he can't take that move away from me. Against someone like Tsuchikawa, who's so passive pre-flop, I might be willing to raise fold somewhere around 10 or 12 big blinds and just trust that if he came over the top of me, then he's really got it. How about yourself, Mike?
Yeah, I would pretty much agree with that assessment. I would say certainly you have to be past 12 big blinds. Anytime I feel that you have, you know, 12 big blinds or less, your only players don't move all in if you play the pot.
Yep.
Check.
And on check behind.
King, queen, 3, as you can see, 2 diamonds. Yeah, definitely think you have to bet here to Chow. You're not going to put this guy on kings and queens. He didn't raise you before the flop. You're limping strong or not, so just bet and take it. And that's what he did.
Tsuchikawa getting a little more active with his chip lead now. At least entering more pots. I don't think we're going to see any big moves from him post-flop, but he at least seems willing to try and leverage his stack a little bit pre-flop.
Yeah. Just raised pre-flop a minute ago and got set all in or by Chow where he got rid of his hand, but as you said, he might be making some more moves without the best of starting hands, playing short-handed. But when it comes to 3-betting and making bigger plays, I've never seen him do it without a hand. As they say in Missouri, you got to show me before I believe you're making a move without a hand.
Back on here in the small blind. Now he's going to go after Chow.
Weird time to go after him now that the guy's got a few chips. Twice as many as he had before.
And he's going to take down that pot.
But Ang does pick up the pot.
These guys trading small pots so far ever since Tsuchikawa stole the chip lead away from Kevin Ong with his trip 10s and a check raise on the river.
Well, a giveaway in my opinion by Ang there. That was a very obvious 3 10s. At least it seemed obvious, and we couldn't see his cards either. But
we were confident. It was a 10 minimum.
Guy checks on the flop, checks on the turn. He's not making a play.
He certainly would have looked silly if Kevin had just checked behind and he had checked all 3 streets with his 10, but his plan ended up working out nicely for him.
Ain't gonna raise it again. 175,000 to go. Ang's been far more successful when he's been doing the raising. And that's the case of most poker players, I might add. You'll discover the more betting you're doing, the better poker career you're going to have.
You need to have at least some element of aggression to your game. Otherwise, they just run circles around you.
Action on Chow. This kid stays calm, cool, and collected. He took a bad beat at my table. Didn't even flinch over it.
Mark of a professional.
Just stacked the chips out there, kept playing like nothing happened at all. Most players wince or do something, but he didn't even react. Just understood part of the game. Didn't phase him. Here he is at the final table, 3 left.
We're seeing potential re-raise Tsuchikawa. And what's also interesting about his re-raising and what seems to really telegraph his strength is he doesn't even count down his chips. He's not even concerned. He's just like, yeah,
reaches
more.
for a handful and throws them out there.
Yeah, okay, this hand's worth more.
And it's to 375,000, so another 215 to make this call. And when this guy 3-bets you, I think you have to give him credit for a hand.
Right.
Now, until somebody looks him up and we see what he's got, you have to put him on a hand because we've never seen him make a move with that one.
Well, he certainly had some hands today on top of winning those flips.
And he essentially busted all 3 players at the table so far by winning flips. And usually that's a sign of destiny. But we shall see. We have to admit, pretty good battle going on here. I mean,
Definitely.
it's really intriguing final table here, especially these final 3 players.
I thought Ong was just going to run away with it. I thought he was going to have position on Tsuchikawa, beat him up, and just let Chow kind of bleed down on the short stack, and eventually get them both low enough that he was able to knock him out in fairly quick succession, but it has not gone down that way.
May not seem like much, but the 3 or 4 walks that they gave this kid where he could maintain his stack with blinds and antes, you know, could play a role in how this comes out, believe it or not. Doesn't seem like much, but when you let the short stack stay at the same level where it doesn't go down because he doesn't win his share of blinds and antes. And now you see he's picked up some small pots or 2, and I'm telling you, if he gets 1 double up, these guys are going to have.
So hesitant to invest them that you wonder what he'll get in.
As I say to Vince, it drives him crazy. It's like pulling hen's teeth to get this guy's chips here. No, it's not quite that bad with Tsuchikawa, but Generally, you got to beat a hand to get him, or win a race. And so far, he's won all the races. I think Hang's best chance is doing what he's doing right now. Just raising more than his share and picking up pots and just gradually increasing his chip stack. I think composure is so important when it comes to being a successful professional poker player, and I think this kid has composure extraordinaire.
Tsuchikawa giving a walk now over to Ong. Much as we expected. A lot of small pots being traded.
You know, Chow's composure reminds me of a poker player on tour that everybody admires for his composure, Nam Lee.
Oh, yeah.
You know Nam Lee? Never
Yes,
gets
I know.
rattled, never gets excited. Calm, cool, and collected at all times, and you so admire that in the guy.
I'm not sure Nam Lee makes expressions. He's just a statue at the table. And it's not, you know, it's not dour or, you know, overly serious or anything. It's just very calm.
Yeah. But never gets upset when he loses a pot, never shows emotion. Whether he wins a pot or loses it, same level of composure. Whoops.
Chow had something really good there. He was not happy about that walk.
Yeah, there's a little composure for you right there where he wanted some action, didn't get it. Does that tilt you at all when you pick up aces and everybody folds around and you get no action at all with them? You make a min raise and that one person plays. Doesn't
No,
tilt
it
you
just
either.
doesn't really bother me.
See, you're another
Yeah.
good composed guy at the
Yeah.
table. You take it all in stride very well as well.
Thank you.
Whether you win a pot or lose a pot, you're definitely a character guy, as we say in the poker world, where you maintain your character and your calmness and you don't erupt at players at the table.
I've always felt that, you know, poker players and professional poker players as a collective, you know, when we have recreational players who come and play our game, they are, you know, in many ways customers that should be treated in, you know, respectful manner. And it has always bothered me very much when I see another professional being rude or berating or condescending a casual player. That just nothing irks me like seeing something like that. I guess dealer abuse would be the other one. I just cannot stand dealer abuse.
Yeah, but you are so right. To criticize and lambaste amateur players who make mistakes, who make a bad play, it's just insane because you're going to make that guy feel very uneasy, very incompetent, and he's not going to come back and play again. I mean, it serves no purpose. And if a guy's playing loose and wins pots and you criticize him for it, what happens? He starts playing tight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane that professional players, quote professional players,
Yeah.
you know, but we see it happen. You know, it doesn't happen now as much as it used to in the past, I must
agree.
say. But it still happens once in a while, and it just does drive you crazy if you're at the table because it's going to cost you money.
Yep.
This guy's action is going to cost you money because now this guy's going to go from a loose player to a tight player because of what he's telling him. All right, back to the action here.
Now, I agree there's a place in poker, especially at some of our televised final tables, for a certain degree of performance, you know, some Phil Hellmuthian blow-ups, if you will. But outside of those kind of scenarios, I've always felt that treating the other people around the table with respect is part of our job, as much as making good decisions, you know, in our poker hands is.
Yeah.
Treating people well is
It
just
should be
an
in the
equal part,
professional
yeah.
poker manual,
Yeah.
101. You know, as you said, you know, with no recreational poker players, I mean, the poker community would dwindle down.
That's right. We're just passing money around and getting raked.
Right. So certainly you don't want that. If you want the game to grow, you need recreational players to play. You want businessmen playing your tournaments. You want amateurs in there, even though some can be very, very good players.
Yep.
But for the most part, pros are going to have an edge in terms of caliber of play over them. So certainly you want them in tournaments and you want them in your cash games.
And another important thing to remember is that a lot of these guys, even if they make a dumb play on the poker table, are extremely intelligent people away from the table. You know, when they're in whatever industry they are more experienced at, they are really good at what they do, especially if they have a little spare income to come and splash around with us. So, you know, think about who you're talking down to before you do something like that.
You are so right about that. Nothing amuses me more when I say a broke poker player, essentially, belittling this guy at the poker table when I know he's a multimillionaire and very successful in business and life, and the poker player who'd be lucky to pay the rent next month, you know, is criticizing this guy and making fun of him, and you wonder who's the real loser here. It's insane.
Action over on here.
First offer.
Our once chip leader and table captain has quieted down. Starting to give a bunch of walks, folding his button.
Great.
175,000 to bet.
175.
Chow goes out and to Chow.
One of the beautiful parts about coming over to Asia to play is you still see an abundance of recreational players, people who are new to the game. You know, even the guys at these final tables, somebody like Chow, who we've been admiring the quality of his play, the professionalism of his play. He's only been playing for 5 years, you know? Most of the guys we're going to encounter in the States have been playing at a minimum of 5 years. Maybe I've been at it, 12 or 13. And I'm
Even you're old school guy.
You know, I'm an
almost
old
now.
school at this point, you know? Like, you know, some of the pros that we grew up with watching on television have been at it 20 years. And they were the kids back when, when I was in high school and watching the show with you and Vince and, the Phil Ivies and the Daniel Negreanu's and the Gus Hansons. Those are guys in their 20s. And now they're all right around 40 and been at it for a couple decades.
Chow moves all in on the button. And takes down the pot.
Speaking of kid poker, recent inductee to the Poker Hall of Fame.
Yeah, congratulations to Daniel. Certainly pretty much a slam dunk. I mean, he's the all-time money winner in tournament poker. Just turned 40. That's the youngest age you can be inducted in the Poker Hall of Fame, what they call the Chip Reese rule. Chip, the most respected poker player maybe of all time, certainly one of them among the high-stakes players. And
certainly of his
he was
era.
inducted as the youngest player ever at 40 years old, and they just made a rule that no one can be inducted younger than Chip. So 40 is the cutoff age. I think it's a good idea.
I agree.
Some people saying, well, it should be 50 or 60, but I think at 40 you could have been a professional player for 20 years, and that's a long time as a career. So I think 40 is the right number, and certainly hats off to Daniel for getting in, and Jack McClellan, incidentally, who's been in the poker industry for over 40 years.
Very deserving.
Served as the World Series of Poker Tournament Director for years and years. Has been the Tournament Director for Bellagio since the World Poker Tour started there. So he was dealing poker at the Sahara Hotel back in the 70s, the early 70s, Jack McClellan. So he started out from the bottom, worked his way to the top, and certainly he called me, and I know he was so happy. He said, I can't believe that I'm in there with you and all the great players, the legends, the idols of mine. And, he's just so emotional. And Jack hadn't been in great health the last couple of years. So, nothing could make him feel better or happier than for him to be inducted into the Poker Hall of Fame.
Big blind, sir.
A staple at the Bellagio for so many years.
And he was a staple at the World Series for a lot of years before that. He's the guy that coined the phrase shuffle up and deal, incidentally.
That was him.
We use it all the time, but he did it originally.
Fold.
And now, as a member of the Poker Hall of Fame, I imagine you have a vote in that process.
Have a vote, yes.
Okay. And who else in the coming years do you think are big favorites to make it in that have yet to enter the Poker Hall of Fame?
Well, certainly, You look at the obvious guys like the Phil Ivies.
Yep.
And, you know.
Approaching age 40, I believe.
Yeah, closing in on age 40.
Imagine Gus is probably in that camp as well, right? Right around
Gus
age 40.
Hansen would be an interesting choice as well. No doubt about it. And, you know, there's actually a lot of players now that are coming up that are going to be qualified to get in. And, you know, certainly some, you know, among old school players, you know, I know Doyle believes it should be high stakes poker players to get in the Poker Hall of Fame, you know, and, you know, he does acknowledge that the future is tournament poker, and I don't believe anybody's going to be able to get in the Poker Hall of Fame that doesn't play the tournament circuit in the future, honestly, and have some tournament results anyway. Because they're just not known to writers or anybody else if they just play strictly high stakes cash games. But, you know, to the ones that really feel like they know who the best players are, they generally feel like it's the high stakes cash game players who have been successful and played for a number of years. And that would be players that most people don't even recognize out there. David Oppenheim, for example.
There's a good one.
Where's the Filipinos?
Right here. Right here.
And a name that might be unfamiliar to many of our listeners. He's had some success in tournaments too, and I believe he's made WPT final tables, but you know, he's not a really flashy guy, and he just shows up to the Bellagio and many other Commerce and some other high stakes poker rooms and does his job day in, day out, and plays very, very good poker.
Quiet, please.
Tsuchikawa cracking a couple of jokes.
$175.
Got a raise on the button here. 175,000. That seems like to be the standard bring-in bet for the 40 and 80 blind level. Tsuchikawa picking up the pot.
And it's 2 inducted every year, correct?
2 are inducted every year. The 2 highest vote getters are inducted every year. I think you got to look at a guy like John Hennigan.
Another very good choice.
He's won 3 or 4 bracelets at the World Series, including the $50,000 horse tournament that he won this year. He's also a WPT champion, and he's also played high stakes poker for
Forever.
a lot of years.
Yeah.
You know, he was a pool hustler for years and years, and if you've ever seen him shoot pool, but I mean, he is dead eye. He is really good. And but he's been out there, played back in the days with the Chip Reese and the Stu Ungers, and I mean, ultra high stakes. And he's a guy you have to give consideration to, I think, because he's also had great tournament success.
Yep. And all those guys you mentioned carry themselves very professionally at the table.
Great.
Yeah. You got the Huck Siege, you got Carlos Mortensen, you got a lot of guys, in my opinion, that are very.
Got to tell you, Huck Seed's always been one of my favorites. He's a real character of the game. And again, you know, very gentlemanly guy. If you talk to him on the table, he'll talk to you, but otherwise he's pretty quiet and low key, but a really interesting guy, a very talented, you know, athletic guy.
He's talented at everything,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. The guy runs like a deer, plays terrific golf, he does everything good. Fantastic poker player, very bright guy, was in engineering before he dropped out of school to play poker, very successful at an early age in poker. I think he finished second to Stu Unger in the Four Queens Championship, the first big tournament he ever played in when he was 21, I think. Obviously won the main event in 1997.
At what, about 25, 26, something like that, among the youngest ever? At his time.
Yeah, at that time.
Yeah. Before everybody was 21 who won it.
1996, yeah, he was 26 when he won, I think Huck was, when he won the main event.
Now I start to wonder if we'll see anybody over 35 win the main event again.
Well, as you know, may not know, but I made bets, taking 10 to 1 for like the last 10 years on a guy over 40 winning the main event. Nobody has. The last guy over 40 to win it was 1999 Noel Furlong from Ireland. Greg Rammer was 40 when he won it. Wasn't over 40, but I bet now includes 40-year-olds. But nobody took me up on it this year. Lucky
Huh.
for me. There's not even a 40-year-old at the table, I don't
Yep,
think.
there you go.
But the reason I got bet that, as you know, because the peak era of the online, 2005, 2006, so many sharp guys came into poker then. So
Yeah.
the next few years, the young guys just dominated. But without online poker the last few years, without that new breed coming in, the sharp guys coming in, so the guys that were betting me didn't think there's enough young guys coming in to balance out the 10-to-1 price. But luckily, nobody bet me this year. I was trying to get action.
That's an interesting point you brought up, something I've talked to people about, which is there is currently not another generation of young poker players coming up to sort of, you know, knock off the guys at the top of the echelon right now. They just don't have the ability to get the practice and the volume that my generation and the guys a little bit younger than me were able to get during that golden era of online poker. And so you're starting to see some European players who are very young make their way up, and that's what we've seen with the Germans. But American players, there's a sort of cap, I would say, right around maybe 25, 26, and you don't see a lot of them younger than that. And it was common for a while to talk about, you know, 21-year-olds at major final tables, or, you know, this kid who flew around the world so he could play a tournament at 18 and managed to make the final table. And the only guy I can really think of that's very young and taking the poker world by storm is the controversial Dan Coleman.
Well, no doubt he's taking it by storm. I'll tell you what, I got to salute the guy. Phenomenal player. He's had the best success in the biggest buy-in events, I might add. And those are usually the toughest players in many cases. And wow, you just can't knock what he's done. Won the one drop, won a couple $100,000 tournaments after that. I mean, the guy's amazing.
I'll give you one crazy Dan Coleman stat. A couple of years ago, he was not doing well at poker. I think he was approaching broke, was contemplating quitting the game. And then in the course of the last 12 months, he has surpassed Phil Ivey's lifetime earnings at tournaments.
Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, Chow's moved all in here. We'll get back to his story in a minute, but here's the story right now of the day. Chow has moved all in for $855,000. And hesitates again, then goes out.
So Chow continues sliding his 10 to 12 blinds in the middle and not finding any takers. Now, Mike, I'd be curious to kind of hear your viewpoint on the stance Dan Coleman took following his one-drop win. I don't believe I read anything from you on that. And normally you're pretty vocal about when something like that happens. How did you feel about his reluctance to engage the poker media?
I think he's out of line. I mean, that's my opinion. And you know, certainly a player can do what he wants to and has a right, but I don't like the idea that he's out there saying he doesn't want poker to grow, it's bad for people, and then yet he continues to take the money from the poker world. And you know, I believe that it's an industry that needs to grow. It needs to get more players. You know, people are employed in casinos and have jobs, et cetera, et cetera. I think when you win big-time tournaments, you have an obligation to talk to the media, and I think you have to try to put a positive spin on your success and the poker world's success. And you know, when you don't do that, I think it's a slam to our industry, and I'm not a fan of it, honestly. I mean, I admire the guys play as much as anybody in the world, certainly. But on the other hand, I don't think he's doing the right thing.
And Tsuchikawa here, raising the button. No takers. So they continue to slide small pots across the table. And it sounds like we are going to be going up. And the players, I think, are taking a break, as that is the end of 2 levels of play. But the dealer is still shuffling, and maybe I just misheard the bell or something, because we got chips going in the middle. So before the bell meant to level up, and we'll see.
Well, they're still just putting in 40 and 80,000 blinds, so must not have gone up. So what's your take on Dan Coleman? I mean,
I have very mixed feelings about the whole Dan Coleman situation. I do think that, you know, if you buy into a tournament and, you know, you pay your entry fee, you pay your rake, and maybe you're averse to getting that kind of attention following it, or maybe you don't, you know, want people approaching you about money or acting like you're famous or whatever it is, you should have the right to walk away and not engage. However, it did seem as though Dan almost had something spiteful about his conduct. His opinions on poker seemed almost contradictory for a guy who was going to make his living and make a very good living at it. And we just saw Chow move all in and take down that pot. And it looks like the players are going to be on break now as we see Tsuchikawa walking away from the table. So we'll get back to that discussion after we take a little break here and get back into it following this level.
When they come back, it will be 1,515K ante. And a new dealer. Another Marcos.
You like shoes? Do you like shoes? I didn't even know that was out there, so like I was trying to
great,
make it a little bit more exciting. Is that live now?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good.
It was live to start with. We can do, these guys are amazing. We can do cards up in the back and cards down out here. So we can show a live stream with graphics and no whole cards.
Oh, it's strikes.
They're the best. Best in the business.
Yeah, like.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. 1.2. 1.2 for first position.
Well, we are back in action at the Solaire Resort and Casino here in Manila. We are three-handed for our WPT National Philippines event.
Yeah, all three of these players have been playing poker for 5 years. Two of them are professional. Ang, the only one that has a job, he's an operations manager.
He's been playing pretty professional today.
Yes, he has.
And that looks like an all-in.
Yeah, Chow is shipping it here.
Yep.
1.2 million.
Still playing 40,000, 80,000.
And he takes down the pot. And one last thought on Dan Coleman.
Sure.
Obviously, superstar player, no doubt about that. But I believe that you owe a little bit to the casino that puts on big-time poker tournaments. Most of them lose money putting them on. They're trying to promote their casino. And they want a champion who is going to at least speak to the press and talk about their event or do something. And don't you think players owe that to the hosting property or not?
I think it's good for the hosting property. It's good for, you know, the collective poker industry for any big champion to at least engage a little bit. They don't have to go really out of their way. You know, they don't have to promote it heavily or give any big quotes, but to at least say something positive or even something generic and simple. Yeah, you know, I had a great time here at the Solaire Resort and Casino. Everything was fantastic. Thanks a lot, see ya.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be anything big, but it's unfortunate that that Dan wanted to prioritize his opinions over the longevity of the game.
Well, we'll see what happens with time as far as he goes. If he sticks around the poker world, you know, if he changes his attitude about that, maybe he will.
Yeah.
Maybe not, though. I don't know. But all I know is, Dan, keep coming out anyway. We love to watch you play because you are a fantastic player. But, you know, just think about engaging the media and appeasing the host casinos when you win again. That's all.
Here we've got Kevin Ong with the button. Looks like he wants to get mixed up, and our blinds are up now. We're playing 50,000, 100,000. So not many big blinds in play anymore.
Well, I ain't going to raise it here.
And all in
look
again.
at this, a 3-bet all in by Chow. And a quick call by Ang, so here we go. 2 queens for Ang.
And that looks like an ace-10 of diamonds over there for Chow.
Yep, ace-10 of diamonds for Chow is right. So Ang well out in front with the ladies. They stand up, we'll be playing heads up for the title. Get it. Draw, 3 would give him a straight, must catch an ace or a 3 now. Ace will give him the lead, a 3 will give him the W. Or at least a chop anyway. Board pairs 5, so we are down to the river. Chow needs an ace or 3, doesn't happen. 8 of spade comes off on the river, so that's going to do it for our 3rd place finisher.
Moonfit Chow taking home $70,582,000 for his efforts at Solaire. Well-played tournament for him. I feel pretty proud about it, and you know, he just never really got enough chips to try and leverage his skill against these two guys.
I'm going to make a prediction. If this guy sticks around playing tournament poker, you're going to see him in the winner's circle before long.
Agreed.
He's got game. But in the meantime, his game is done for today. We are down to these 2 guys fighting it out for the title.
Yes, please.
A Malaysian and a Japanese squaring off in the Philippines to see who will be our champion.
Not sure. They may have come to this final table in 5th and 6th chip position.
Thank you.
I know Ang came in dead last with 400,000. Shaki only had 800,000 when he came to this final table. So I believe they were in 5th and 6th place. I'm not sure that's ever happened in WPT history where the guys in the last 2 chip spots coming to the final table play heads up for the title.
I don't know if I've seen that before. So BJ there getting the official heads up chip counts.
But it just shows you a difference in the size of the blinds, how it makes in terms of anybody can battle for the title. If they were very deep stacked at this final table, very difficult for the 2 short stacks to make it that far.
That's right.
But when they can double up quickly like these guys did early on at this final table. you get chips quick. When blinds start out with a chip leader, only has 30 big blinds.
Ante, please.
But all that's history. This is the present. That's the trophy they're playing for. The title of becoming the first ever champion of the WPT National Philippines Tournament.
Action is going to start with Tsuchikawa on the button.
Raise.
And a quick raise to start things off in our heads-up match.
Tsuchikawa starting the final table with about a $500,000 chip lead over his opponent, but fairly close in chip count.
Getting some love from the crowd.
Everybody loves a winner.
Yeah.
Tsuchikawa, 49 years old, a professional poker player. He says been playing 5 years, but it's not often you see guys in their late 40s becoming a professional poker player. Maybe if they're successfully retired or something, they might try it.
Exactly. Raise and call.
It's the young guns that come into the poker world and want to be pros.
A lot less for the younger guys to lose at that point. They're not established in their career. They don't have a family to take care of.
Now here's the flop. 3, 6, 7. Hang raised before the flop. Tsuchikawa. Action on him. He's going to check. Like $160,000 bet. $135,000 is all. I don't think Tsuchikawa's going anywhere.
He's got calling chips ready. Ooh, looks like we're going for a raise instead.
Raise.
He is going to raise it. Tsuchikawa advertising these flop. Some of this that came out there, which is the 3, 6, 7. If you're in the hang seat, obviously if you have the overpair, you're going to go with this hand. But if you just have 2 big cards, probably going to muck it. Very easy for an opponent to have 7-6 in his hand here. Could have a 7-5 suited where he's got top pair and a straight draw. But he's check raised you. He's got something. He's hit some of that flop. You have to recognize that if you're an hang seat.
Seems to be struggling with this one.
Well, we've seen him do this a lot. There's his final table, but then he puts chips in the pot. And he's doing it again here. Most of the time when a guy waits that long, he mucks his hand. Not this guy. Almost like he's in zombie mode a little bit, like he really doesn't know what to do here. Wow.
Sort of pump fake right there.
Yeah, sure was. Well, he is going to make
call.
the call, so here we go to the turn. Well, an ace comes off. Well, no quick moves by here by Tsuchikawa. Is he going to bet now? Will that ace scare him off? Does he just have an overpair or one pair? He's going to bet. It's not like he's afraid of that ace. At least he's acting like he's not afraid of it. He may be afraid of it. Tuchikawa proud to carry the Japanese flag to this final table. It just seems like he's a little bit zombies here. Just doesn't know which way to go with this hand.
Yeah, very strange behavior, this hand.
And that's $475,000 to make the call. He's cut him out. You almost think he's got like an 8-9 or something like that, the way he's playing this hand. He's made the call. No raises here in this spot. It's like he's on a drawing hand.
Biggest pot of this final table so far.
This hand could go a long way in determining our champion, that's for sure. Let's see what happens on the river. Well, the Queen of Spades comes off.
Check from Tsuchikawa.
A check means he has something.
Agreed.
If he had an 8-9, he'd be betting here.
Yep. Also not sure we'd see him take such an aggressive line with 8-9 based on what we've observed from him previously. I could be wrong about that, but he doesn't seem that aggressive with his draws.
He would have just called with it probably. Action on Ang. He's taking a long time here. Big decision for him. Tuchikawa seems pretty calm.
Yeah, definitely. Got the triangle. Wow.
The all-in bet. He has moved all in after a long hesitation.
Very long hesitation.
Now Tuchikawa's got to figure it out.
What a strange hand.
The way the hand's played, you just can't imagine a queen can help the guy.
Yeah.
Remember, he check-raised him on the flop. Would the guy call him with king-queen in his hand? Would he call with an ace hit on the board on the turn? Unless that hit him. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it seems so unlikely those cards would help him. I mean, what's he going to have? Ace-7?
Well, Amarillo Slim. I always used to say, you know, something's not smelling what's cooking on the fire or something like that, but, you know.
He says
he's
call.
Made the call, so he's done it.
A pair of sixes?
2 sixes. Wow.
It seems he's won the event.
Tuchikawa, he just had 2 sevens.
He has a 10-7.
He made the call with 2 sevens there for all the money. What a read by Tuchikawa. He earned that title by making a great call on the river. Wow.
What a fantastic call.
Now it's like Ang put him on 2 sevens and thought a bet could get him off of that hand.
Yeah, it's a hell of a bluff by Ang. I don't blame him for trying. I kind of would have expected Tsuchikawa to fold. What can I say? What a great play by both those guys.
Well, Ang just must have put him on 2 sevens, thought an all-in bet might get him off the hand. Almost 2 sixes are worth checking down in case you think your opponent had some kind of straight draw. But wow, what a call by Tuchikawa to win the tournament on that play is amazing.
Well,
take your hat off and salute that guy, Tony. That was an amazing call.
I mean, especially for the entire tournament. And for really most of the chips in front of him. It's not like he had a lot of leeway there. He was calling off the entire tournament.
He'd have been down to nothing if he'd lost it.
Long for his efforts today, he's going to take home $109,000. But our champion, Tsuchikawa, he's getting $156,849 and his first major title. He finished second at the Red Dragon event in Macau, but this one is the icing on the cake.
Well, I'm still shocked at the call. What a call it was. It looks easy from here, but it's not, folks. If you're sitting at that table, when a man moves all in on you after calling a check raise and a bet on the turn, unbelievable there that he made that call. Tony, it's been great working with you.
Thank you for joining me again.
My pleasure. And now I'm going to get out to the award ceremony.
And thank you to the Solaire Resort and Casino for hosting a fantastic event this entire week. We look forward to seeing you all in the future and the next time here on the WPT Online live stream.
This is for the
This is the first time the main event for me. All side event I come. So always second.
Doyle Brunson
for
of
main event.
Japan.